You know what time it is. We are here and excited to get into the quarterfinals of the playoffs here with the Defenders League and Aegis Esports as a whole. As this entire week, we're going to be seeing first seeds take on those that have made it through the round of 12, and I could not be more excited. We got a fresh face with us here today. My name is Orbital. With me is Jack, who is joining us from the AML, filling in here for game number 1. Jack, thank you so much for being here. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get into this first games of the week, and we started our playoffs.
Of course, and of course we have an amazing set of teams as well. First seeds coming out here is going to be the likes of Weakside Jungle Victims, who have yet to drop a single series. Now, of course, that is contended with a few others inside of these playoffs, but still, Weakside Jungle Victims look like a powerhouse. You got Rover, Source Walker, Epitome, the Voices are back, as well as Panda, and then you got Joust, Midnight, Amlo, Blush, and Quake on that reserve roster.
Yeah, at Epitome, I mean, this guy is an absolute solo queue grinder. 353 games played this year, and he's practicing a ton of flex picks, going to give them a lot of variety in the drafts.
And we're hoping to see a lot more of what they got to offer because, of course, this is the first time on stream, much like the others, as we are going to be taking a look at Flash Syndicates, who got matched up against them. They are the 5th seed coming in from, I believe, the Bilgewater division. Weakside Jungle Victims came in from the Freljord. Flash Syndicates running Adaptable Ape in the top lane, not important in the jungle. Terry 71 in the mid lane, Lean 123 in the ADC role, and Bento at support, as well as Conveyable Cub, as well as Win Richard and Chris Antonology in that reserve role.
Yep, and 3-0 last week was their scoreline, able to advance to come into this week, and they surely have a massive opponent on their hands. But a lot of these players seem to have a lot of comfort picks. You know, we have some really unique picks coming out of Bento in the bottom lane, some really strong tanks coming out of the top side. So I'm excited to see what they pick, and we already got the Galio taken away.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You see the Galio, as you were mentioning, a little bit of look in that mid lane. Terry maybe not want to be given that one, but on the other, heavy lean into that jungle side. Maybe not lean too much, but the mastery focus into Source Walker, which is a great carry champion. But the Gwen banned away, which is a secret, I want to say, pickup or well-known top lane jungle currently in the meta. That, and along with Nefiri, which just got buffed. Some teams trying to run that, but heavy jungle focus, and then a mid lane toss in there with Epitome losing out on the Vel'Koz.
Yeah, I was really hoping to get to see Master Yi out of Source Walker. Plays so much of it, but we're going to start with the Jarvan. First pick Jarvan. I mean, this really not only gives Source Walker a very strong champion with a lot of versatility, but it also pinches what Flash Syndicate are capable of doing. If you want to pick a carry, you've got to make sure they have some mobility, or you have to pair them with some sort of mobility so that they can't just get instantly one-shot. They're going to answer right away with the Nocturne. They want their own engage coming out of the jungle, and I think now would be a good time to pick up one of these carries that has some mobility. Aurora would certainly do the trick.
Of course, and a little bit of flexibility in there as well, being able to leap away from the J4. You know, engage is coming from Weakside Jungle Victims, so you got to go ahead and grab kind of your own here. You get the getaways, you get that kind of guerrilla warfare type beat for Flash Syndicate, and then all of a sudden that J4 is kind of neutralized here in the early to mid. But of course, what are we going to pair with it? There's a lot on the line, and there's a lot of abilities out there, as Lissandra has been the flavor of the ADL and across multiple leagues as well. Great CC abilities, great damage scaling still, well, good, I should say, but the layered CC is amazing, and you pair that with the J4, all of a sudden it's a great battery to run through just about any lane that you so wish. Weakside Jungle Victims, though, they got to grab an ADC, and they're going to go for the safety just as well. I'm almost surprised we don't see a Xayah in that position.
Yeah, and with the Lissandra, like you said, it provides so much CC, and that can be used either offensively. You're going in with the Jarvan, you're layering everything so well, you're pretty much just making it so one person can't play the game. But you can also use that defensively. If a engage goes awry and Tristana rocket jumps forward, you can immediately lock them down, stop any sort of forward motion. I really like the Ezreal as a takeaway too, because you want to have as much AoE as possible when you have that Jarvan Cataclysm coming down. So making sure you have an AD carry that can just deal damage to anyone who gets stuck in there is really important.
Yep, it's a very, very important factor to go ahead and hang on to these ADCs, but the Tristana is a big surprise coming out here, being able to stick to the Ezreal, and that's why we're seeing a lot of these supports banned away. The Rakan as well as the Braum both denied, and making sure that you don't have that safety factor in there, but the got targeted towards that top side. That will be taken away from the hands of Rover, who is pretty exceptional on that champion. Now for Weakside jungle victims, you get to decide, where do you want this last ban to go? Do you want to go into the bot side? Do you want to go ahead and take away that safety factor? And it looks like you are going to do so. The Poppy band away here, whether in top or whether in support, it is undeniably a great stalling factor against the likes of Lissandra or J4.
Yeah, I'd really like to see a Leona pick here. Partners really well with Tristana, with Aurora and Nocturne. It also would be a great takeaway because it's something that's going to go so well with the Jarvan and the Lissandra. And it kind of keeps the flex alive. You know, Tristana can go 80, can go mid, Aurora can go top, can go mid. And if you pick your support here, you're kind of still leaving everything open. Ornn would also be an incredible pick. It's adaptable ape, one of his favorite champions. So now you've got a really steady and stable top side that you can play around, or you can avoid playing around. You can leave the Ornn up there, just let him farm, let him just get some items early, get through the landing phase, neutralize whoever they're facing, and allow Nocturne to just run the rest of the map.
Of course, and you know, with that kind of chance in there, you are going to bring something that can try and take the Ornn down, and best way to do that is you bring the Mbessa. Not only can you snipe through the Ornn, but you can duel out the Ornn in the early to mid to an extent. Of course, Mbessa I think needs about mid-game items in there to really start shredding through the Ornn. In late game, I mean, you're not really going to be doing the Ornn, you're going to be hunting for the Tristana and the Aurora. But right now, it's still a forward-facing composition, except for the Ezreal on weak side jungle victims. And you're still going to pair it with some aggression. So the Maokai now being hovered, if it's locked in here in the bot lane, it's a whole thing. But as you called rightfully so, it's the Leona instead, still following in the J4 path.
I mean, it's just so perfect. How is any one of these champions supposed to deal with the Cataclysm on their head, Leona ult, Lissandra ult? I mean, there's just, you won't be able to play the game. And it doesn't even have to necessarily be a catch on to one of these carries, Aurora or Tristana. If you find Nocturne out of place and you blow them up, that's a free objective. You've got 30 seconds on the map where they just can't answer you 5v5. I think they've got to try and match the aggression. I think it's too late in the draft to try and find something defensive. Alistar is a perfect combo there because you can have that aggression with the combo, or you can just use the headbutt, buy yourself some space, peel a little bit. And I mean, I love both these comps. We're going all in.
It is a very heavy all in. The main thing for me is who's going to be running the cleanse, because Tristana and Ezreal, I mean, they got getaways if you buffer it right, but do you really want to ride all on that buffer zone? Do you want to take that chance there? I personally wouldn't. And for the Nocturne, we have to be honest. Even though you have the paranoia and the dive, if Alistar or Ornn aren't close enough, you're going in solo. So for Flash Syndicate, taking a look in a vacuum, I like the comp, but against weak side jungle victims, do you enjoy this composition built up considering what we see from weak side jungle victims?
Yeah, I'm nervous for Flash Syndicate because, like you said, if Nocturne just goes in, if he's building for assassination, he's going to get one shot by any of these champions. But if he's building more bruiser oriented, I really don't see a ton of damage coming out of this team. Tristana can put down a lot and Aurora can burst a target, but after that point, they got nothing. And I see some similar problems on the side of weak side jungle victims, but the Mbessa is going to be able to do a lot throughout the course of a team fight. Ezreal is going to do a lot. I mean, Jarvan can afford to build a bit more damage oriented and still have some survivability. So I think right now I'm going to have to side with WJV.
Oh, well, we'll see if they can pull it off. Again, the compositions speak for themselves, and of course the teams will do the same, as this is a Bo5 on the horizon. Both teams get 2 safety net games before they really got to get serious. Let's go ahead and send it to a quick break. Make sure the players are set to go, and when we come back, we'll have game number 1 for your viewing pleasure. Please don't go anywhere. And we're live with game number 1 here once again. Comfortable compositions. However, the teams may not be as comfortable, as we have learned that Blush is actually hopping in here. We originally thought it was going to be Voices, and that is not the case. So Blush stepping in here as the ADC.
Yep, and coming into this game, I think it's a bit better for this composition they've drafted. When I took a look at the Voices Are Back's solo queue, he's playing a lot of hyper carries, pretty much only playing hyper carries. So seeing the Ezreal locked in, hopefully Blush is better at championing this pick. Looking up and down at the rune choices, I actually like Blush's selection of lethal tempo here. Allows you to put out a ton of damage on this Ezreal as the game goes on. And Bento, as we see here, has the phase rush, so he wants to be able to be a lot more mobile during these team fights, not opting for that aftershock, and that might hurt him a little bit early game, not having that survivability in the lane. But the Ezreal is not going to be able to put out too much damage that quickly, so shouldn't hurt them too bad. Nothing else strikes me as very particular in the rune choices. The Ornn opting for Grasp of the Undying, going to get himself a lot of HP throughout the lane with that.
I think a big thing about that is also the fact that, yeah, the runes may not be different, but the summoner spells, I mean, these are kind of aggressive. The barriers for both ADCs really leaning to the fact that they will not be that primary assault. The one that I can't speak today, where they are the ones that are primarily focused. I mean, for Lean specifically, you are really banking on that rocket jump to stay out of harm's way, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, especially because out of all of the mobility abilities on AD carries, I feel like rocket jump is the easiest to buffer. If Lissandra's close enough and just hits W, Tristana's not going anywhere, as a ton of damage comes out on the side of Epitome. Might even be dead if the flash out is committed.
Ooh.
And it is.
I mean, that's
crazy start.
It is. And I mean, for Epitome, you have to respect Terry's damage. I mean, Aurora is one of the best in the early game bursts. I think that was a level 3 versus a level 2 burst out. Either that or it was just a 2. Either way, that electrocute powerful stuff here as Epitome burns both summoner cells just to get back to lane right now.
Yeah, and Aurora, I know it's a new-ish champion, but that damage has to be respected, and really great job by Terry. Hits the Q, but holds on to it, knowing that they can get even more damage with the missing health. His teleport's committed down here.
And this is going to be a fight that I don't know if WJV actually wants to deal with right now. Weakside jungle victims realizing that they're in an early game skirmish and they're not going to enjoy this one too much. Epitome comes back with full HP to drive everyone off. I think Source Walker was able to collect pretty much nothing there, so not important, able to claim and defend their jungle.
4v4 at 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Is this what we've been missing out on the ADL? I mean, this is an incredible game. I mean, backing up and a flash forward.
I mean, they're going all out aggressive, and I really, really like this call, but what a stick coming out as Panda is actually the one to buffer out that Zenith Blade. And now with a safe play off of Blush, it's interesting to see right now. It's actually Weakside jungle victims that are the ones that are getting pressed in, as Flash Syndicate are saying we got to push this pacing.
And both junglers on the bottom side now, so going to prevent a dive for the moment, but with Dragon spawning in 55 seconds, they've got to get some vision down. Looks like some counter jungling is going to occur. No way for Source Walker to walk through, as the bot lane of Flash Syndicate's already there. I really love this approach out of Flash Syndicate. You know, you've had a week to play and prepare. The smite will come down for not important. He will get it and drive Jarvan out of the jungle. But as I was saying, they come off of a 3-0 first week of playoffs. That's a ton of momentum. They've got a week down where they've played together with the implications that, you know, you lose, you're out, it's over. So that going into facing the 6-0 series record best team in the league, I feel like that builds a ton of confidence coming into a game that otherwise could feel very damaging. As speaking of damage, Epitome is dead again.
It's just never ending right now, and I hate saying that because it's only 2 right now. Though, with Terry ruling this mid lane, it shuts down what Epitome really wants to do. Whenever you take a look at a Lissandra, you want to be able to roam out early, you want to have that influence over the map. But at this point, Terry's going to control where you get to go. So Epitome really needs to kind of shore up this defense, or else that next kill, that third, if it comes through, the solo, could be your doom, and Terry might just start farming you.
I know, and I don't believe this matchup gets any easier without a lot of gold, and it's going to be so difficult for the Lissandra to farm up if every time she approaches a lane, she is at risk of getting solo killed again, as now but everyone's here.
It's just that simple at this point. You found the weak point, and it's working wonders. The feat of warfare has been claimed solely based off the mid lane. Flash Syndicate stepping up.
I mean, it's been a newer development I've heard in League of Legends in terms of like analytically viewing games and strategies, but the newest trend seems to be find the inter, and right now that is Epitome. Feels so bad at Ultimate being expended up here, trying to get his own solo kill, but not able to get any of those abilities to land. Adaptable Ape sees what the mid laner's doing. He's feeling a little bit left out as we are moving down to our first dragon take of the game.
Of course, and honestly, this dragon is, I mean, it's a nice fact that it is an ocean, so you're able to kind of collect that and hang on to the laning phase as best as possible. But honestly, Blush might not be in the best position for that. As the dragon was started, you don't have your support, and it's just a cute couple. Rocket jumps in, and Lean is able to get an assist here as Bento actually takes that kill. Feels kind of bad considering at what point it was. But it is going to be the dragon over to Weakside jungle victims here, as the kills are going Flash Syndicate's way all day long. What a read, as well as Panda is about to get bopped on the backside. Lean hops away as Source Walker comes around the side. But again, with no ADC, there's no real threat of a kill on the bot side.
Yeah, that was a very impressive engage by Bento. They know that the Jarvan's on the bottom side of the map, but they also know that their focus is entirely on the dragon, so no one's going to be able to roam down to help Ezreal. As I think we're gonna have another all-in.
I mean, this all-in is a little bit different. Again, Rover is the tank shredder and just needs one more auto. Dashes in, almost gets minion blocked, but you flash away to safety. Still solo kill for Rover in the top lane as the Mbessa is starting to get rolling.
I mean, that's what you have to have happen right now if you are Weakside jungle victims, because the Mbessa is your only real hope at dealing anything in a front-to-back fight, because Ornn, Nocturne, Alistar, there really isn't much tank shred or consistent DPS on the side of WJV with the Lissandra that's so far behind, and the Ezreal is not going to be able to deal as consistent damage, looking more so for those big chunks. So getting the Mbessa rolling is extremely important, and with minutes until our next objective, I like what we're seeing out of the bot lane now. They're just freezing this here, trying to keep as much away from the side of Lean and Bento, but with that, charge bomb, it's so easy for Tristana to just blow up the entire wave and now start roaming again towards the middle lane, trying to break this game wide open.
I mean, they're going to give it their best shot because, again, for their composition, you really do need to get a great early game start here. You have the Nocturne, who is now level 6, not important. Should be starting to ult in as soon as possible. For Rover themselves, though, they're just farming away. They're trying to keep their CS numbers up. They're up about a wave, and they'll collect even more here. But again, for Adaptable 8, it's all about getting information. You're trying to check where Source Walker is currently going. Right now, my big question is, where does the next move come from? We've had multiple solo kills in the mid lane. Terry has gotten an excess of gold and is already snapping up on Epitome's HP bar. But where do you actually start moving? I want to see Terry start roaming out of that lane and start affecting maybe the side lane angles.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that very, very early 4v4, and it seems like since then, everyone's been kind of happy to go their own ways, but now we're going to see everyone coming in bottom lane.
Yes, they are, because the junglers are meeting it right now. Panda being given a safe passage out, but a nice buster shot keeps Lean safe, but in goes a 3-man combo, and they're immediately knocked back up as Bento trying to keep their bottom lane safe. In comes Terry, though. True Shot Barrage only lanes on one, and in comes the Between Worlds. The realms have been lit up as Terry is now on a killing spree. That's going to be one TP heading towards the bot side, but Adaptable 8 and Rover, we're going at it for a little bit, but it's not as chaotic and confusing as his bottom lane, as only Panda went down.
I mean, I thought at the beginning of that no one was going to have a real way to get into bot side, but Jarvan just has to walk and the Nocturne ultimate is expended, but we're still going.
Oh, I'm not sure about that dive, though, as Terry is given a free kill, and now he gets going in further as Lean jumps on in. Terry cleans it up, and it's going to be Flash Syndicate that get the second round.
Absolutely not worth it. It felt like they maybe got away at the very beginning with an even skirmish, and they're so far behind, you don't have to push that far. I guess they figured that since Epitome expended that teleport, they had to try and get something out of it, but all they ended up getting was a 5-0-1 Aurora who's got a 400 gold shutdown and a completed Luden's Companion. I don't know how they're going to be able to, even set up a fight, let alone fight it, because they have to have perfect vision. Otherwise, the Nocturne's going to turn off the lights, come flying in, and Aurora is going to be right behind your carries, blowing them up just like this.
Oh, that hurts so bad to see. Terry comes in. We are 11 minutes into this game right now, and Terry, rightfully so, has a Dark Seal. Like, I was about to call that out, but already snapping up on the legs of Epitome. Epitome isn't going to come online anytime soon, meaning this dragon, which normally would be handed over to the side of Weakside Jungle Victims, who got it first, because we're seeing Flash Syndicate on the top side taking all the grubs. It means that this is actually a fairly even situation, but a great Solar Flare actually lands on top of Lean, as Lean is annihilated in the lane. Lean into and collapses. That is going to be a kill granted to Blush right there, and that might be the turning point to get the dragon. However, top side, it is going to be a split fight as Rover realizes they're in a really, really rough spot. Goes ahead and ults, but you can't do too much as the fear is going to do enough. Bento running interference here as Panda is going to get knocked up as we transfer right back to the bot side, and Blush just forcing Terry and Bento away as the dragon will go the way of Weakside Jungle Victims unless Terry wants to get into the mix. Source Walker does have smite. We're watching this one go down quite low, but in goes the claw just to peel everyone away, and the smite goes their way. Weakside Jungle Victims are able to peel away on this second Drake.
It was so important that they got that kill onto Lean because it gave them the numbers advantage for that dragon fight.
Really?
Bento's going crazy right here.
I mean, you can, because you know that there is going to be a low HP Panda on the backside backing in a very precarious spot, and Terry gets it with the ult. Now full stacks on Dark Seal, 6 kills in, level 10 and counting. Flash Syndicate have a 1.5 mile lead in the mid lane.
I mean, the only bright side I can see right now for Weakside Jungle Victims is they still have the identity they drafted. You still have the Jarvan, Lissandra, Leona combination, and I feel like they have to start exhibiting some patience. I think they're still just going for fights everywhere, and they need to wait and find their moment to set up vision and actually assassinate this Aurora. Flash expended by Rover, doesn't want to give up too much of an advantage, even as we see somewhat of a CS advantage for the Ambessa. They're still just even in level. The only real level lead we're seeing is on Blush in the bottom lane, and importantly on the Nocturne in the jungle, getting this Nocturne closer to level 11, which will be another massive spike. And as we see here in the gold, 1,000 gold lead for the jungle position. What is that, 1,700 gold lead in the mid lane? I mean, this is starting to run away with it at 13 minutes.
Oh, but they do want to jump now. Yeah, Terry is a little bit locked out here. Doesn't have a wall over, and that actually might be the turn here. Panda is going to run in as well, and a great Glacial Tomb shuts down Terry in one of the most unfortunate and disastrous attempts to roam into the jungle side. Now it's going to be jump in as Panda hops on to Bento, but Bento with a great knockup denies any further aggression. Still, though, massive shutdown handed over to Epitome, and Terry has to be scratching their own head.
That was like the worst thing that could have possibly happened. He starts by using the W, so now he doesn't have that jump, and then he fails the E up against the wall. And you know, credit to WJV, even though I feel like that was more of a misplay. They took the opportunity, they pulled the trigger, used the Lissandra ult, and make sure that they fully execute. And now we're looking for even more.
Well, right now it's once again junglers in the bot side, but a great out coming in from Blush, and that means the Soul Flare lands onto 2. It'll be WJV to go ahead and sling down and say, we ain't the JV, we're the varsity here. Lean gets annihilated as Blush, after staying alive, collects their due rewards.
I mean, they're playing this so perfectly. Where has this team been for the first 15 minutes? I mean, they're so patient. They wait to use all of their CC until they know they have enough damage. Wait for Ezreal to fully stack up that lethal tempo, and wait until the Tristana is forward enough to where they can pull the trigger. And I mean, Blush, he's a substitute, but he played that so well. He kites so well backwards, even after the Nocturne ultimate comes in, even after they were the ones engaged on at the start of the fight. And Sourcewalker, this guy is in the right place at the right time every single moment. And 2 dragons up, it's starting to kind of balance itself out. It's only a 1.2k gold lead. They're 2 dragons up, and you know, it's seeming a lot less insurmountable at this moment than it was earlier.
I mean, I would agree with that one, but still, as long as Terry is able to kind of play in their own, I feel like Terry is still going to be a menace on the field, because here's the deal. Flash Syndicate have yet to actually apply that Nocturne into the mid lane as well. I mean, we saw the early fight, right, with Bento joining in, but I mean, once you bring Not Important and Terry into the mix, I feel like Blush isn't going to be able to skedaddle away with a Flash and Arcane Shift. It's going to be Annihilation. That's what I'm kind of watching for. Right now, Flash Syndicate are still kind of taking this bit by bit, whereas WJV, rightly so, has started to group up. You called it earlier, as they do need to kind of play within that roam. At the current moment, though, it will be Herald going down. Not only that, it'll be first turret to go the way of Flash Syndicate, meaning they have gotten both of the feats that they need to claim the boots. Lean, though, realizing their life might be forfeit here, and Sourcewalker will be granted that piece of the pie. Ain't no way Lean gets away.
Nope. And Aurora now getting caught, but that may be too deep. Didn't want to be there. But I mean, they're using that pressure they've got in the mid lane so well, and credit to Epitome. He's been put so far down, but he played that very well, gets as much damage onto Lean as possible, clears out the wave to make that dive possible. As Public Execution comes out, I don't know, though, if Rover is going to have the damage. I think maybe just trying to push him out of this lane, do some damage while they get the CS, but weren't expecting the ultimate 2 here.
I mean, they're going to go at it like cats and dogs, and unfortunately, it's only minor scratches for the moment. Rover has yet to really get that bleed through effect, but of course, with the fight on the top side, means neither top laner is going to be ready for the spot lane fight, which means it's a 4v3. We're still waiting for the Tristana, but right now going in, it is once again Terry with the burst, slamming down the damage, and Lean hops in for the finish. It's a double for Terry as the Aurora goes ham, and Dragon is still up and available. Flash Syndicate sealed that one away. Blush is going to go down, and Flash Syndicate flash their way into the fight and take a 3-0 win.
I'm sorry, which of these teams was the first seed? I mean, Flash Syndicate are so composed. They play the fight so well. You're fighting at this objective. The dragon has already been started and it is low HP. So the first target they find is Sourcewalker. Make sure that there's only one smite on the board. And from there, they just wipe them clean, go from target to target with complete discipline. And I mean, then once the fight's nearly over. Lean just is jumping forward without a fear in the world, ripping through all of them. Only has the Untals, but with the fully stacked Lethal Temple, able to do so much damage. I mean, we've only got one dragon though, so if you're a big WJV fan and you're looking for some silver linings, that was only their first dragon. So we've got to continue to look for some of these fights where you can be the one starting it, because when you kind of stance up around the dragon and you're focusing on getting the dragon to low HP like WJV was, you're not as focused on the turn. And that means that Flash Syndicate were able to just walk in and completely set up everything. Terry had the flank, and now they're trying to set up some more plays in the river.
Pan is starting to get a little bit tanky, has that locket plus the Merc Treads in tow, knows that Terry is a real force to deal with. And I gotta agree. I mean, the fight was there, and honestly, the dragon I think was a nice little bonus. They stopped it before Source Walker could do anything, so it was a nice little extra cherry on top. Really, they did want the kills, and now they can go ahead and apply pressure all around this Otacon that'll be spawning here in the top side in a little bit. Not important, of course, saying we don't really need to force it. We don't have to force it at all. We can go ahead, go back to farming, make sure we get our lanes in order before we go for this major objective. I mean, if we're talking about Otacon, it's normally taking around, I want to say, the 23-24 minute mark, and no one likes to go at it pretty much off rip. That's such a dangerous game to be played.
Yeah, and they've matched these lanes up pretty well. Epitome had kind of a free lane to get back into the game, matched up with the Tristana bot side, but now they've got Terry down here. He does have the teleport, so he'll be able to get anywhere on the map. And we also have teleport out of Adaptable Ape, able to push in these waves so well. He's got Sunfire and the Thorn Mail. This Mbess is never getting the kill. Terry, though, wants to continue just getting these massive chunks. Epitome has to be so careful. Because that, I mean, he didn't really, the only long cooldown to use there was the Electrocute cooldown. And once that's back up, he'll be able to finish off the Epitome. So Sourcewalker is hovering. They want to try and find another pick. The ward is spotted, but they just don't have the range to get him right now.
I think at this point, you can see WJV kind of fishing here, but of course the fish might be on the other side because Terry says, I am the shark in the waters, but unfortunately TP to the wrong side of the map. That is going to be a tower shot and a half. Flashes away to safety though, so Terry takes the 1v1. Sourcewalker though does have flash, might burn the Cataclysm, and you do, so it's a shutdown. However, top side is going to be started up here. Otacon might be traded out, but Adaptable Ape saying, yo, let's go ahead and fight. That's going to be a call down right onto Blush, and Flash Syndicate are bringing a quick fight in, but a quick snipe into the back line is Rover is able to dive on the not important is annihilated. All of a sudden Lean and Bento realize they're not in a great position. What is this? Flash Syndicate might have bitten off a little bit more than they could chew. Adaptable Ape though saying, no, I have bitten off just enough to go ahead and have my meal, and all of a sudden dessert might be too much, as that is Rover to continue this fight. Lean comes from the brush, but in comes Source Walker after they finish off this bot lane, and Epitome after TPing into mid denies any further aggression, but that does leave Flash Syndicate a little bit lost on this tower. Adaptable Ape is going to try and turn it around. They do get the minions, and it's a TP to the back line. This fight is continuing. Terry says, yo, let's go. My turn to do some damage. A quick Glacial Tomb though, as there's no safety for Terry. Terry's annihilated yet again. That is WJV saying you pay the price for your all-out damage scaling, and Flash Syndicate lose their mid yet again.
I mean, I don't even know where to start. Terry with such a great 2v1 outplay on the bot side, forces the flash out of Jarvan to get the kill. But then when we go up to Otacon, I felt like it was a good turn by Not Important. It was just unfortunate that Adaptable Ape wasn't able to land the knockups he needed to suppress the damage out of Blush and Rover, so they were able to fight back, but then they just keep going too far. They bit off more than they could chew, as you said at the beginning of that, and fight too much. I liked the TP from Terry, but he sticks around too long. He's not using the W as defensively as I'd like, and Epitome and Sourcewalker are able to just blow him up. So in the end, it ends up just being more and more gold coming back into the pockets of WJV, and now we have another dragon fight starting.
The difference is Flash Syndicate realize that they don't have the proactivity right now, and they're going to get jumped on here as immediately not important is denied. Yet again, Between Realms does not matter, or maybe it does. Flash Syndicate starting to burn through the HP bars, but Terry went a little bit too far. Yet again, Blush and WJV are kiting for their life. Panda with the Suns into the kill epitome, saying, I am a champion now. Another Ring of Frost to slow them down, and the Wolves are forced to starve. That's a triple for Epitome as WJV take the ace.
I am speechless. What composure by WJV. They were put so far behind. They have so many threats to lurk out for, and the Nocturne flies in and Terry flies in. You'd think that that would be the start of an incredible fight for Flash Syndicate, and it ends up being a nightmare. They go 5 for 2. They lose the dragon. They're on Soul Point. They have to defend for the rest of the game. I mean, Terry is just kind of going crazy here. Not important, really showing everyone that their concerns in draft were valid. He goes in and just gets one shot. I was nervous for a moment because Sourcewalker, when Sourcewalker used the Cataclysm, he ended up locking all 5 of himself and all 4 of his teammates inside of it. And it kind of made a really scary spot for Terry to just go crazy. But in the end, they turn around and they focused everything on him right away. It was such discipline. I'm really, really impressed with how they've stuck in this game.
And I have to commend not only their ability to fight back, but their shot calling. In those fights, the reason that Terry is blown up pretty immediately is the shot calling aspect. The calls to say, hey, Terry's hopping in, we got to shut them down quickly. It is the immediate turn to focus on a single target. Normally we see fights all the way around, and yet WJV are consistently ensuring that these team fights are their own. So I'm really, really impressed so far. Waiting to see even more though. As we are just halfway through the game, it feels like there's going to be so much more action to be seen because WJV are on the up and up now, tying in that gold gap.
I know. It's a good time where it feels like we have a maybe slight break in skirmishes to zoom out, look at the items. We've got 2 completed items for almost everyone on Flash Syndicate. They have a lot of sustainability and tank. The Nocturne's in a bit of an in-between between a bruiser and an assassin, but we'll be able to start these fights off with that paranoia. And on the other side, the Zhonya's component for Lissandra, that Seeker's Arm Guard, is there. It's going to allow Epitome to be a lot more aggressive in these fights. The Mbessa, the Jarvan have a ton of damage already, and Ezreal is at a really huge point. And when we look at their kind of, their win condition, they have these 3 dragons. They withstood so much of that early pressure, and they're only a couple hundred gold behind. They can force a fight at this next dragon without having to start the dragon, because Flash Syndicate can't afford to just give it away. Does look like they're going to turn some attention over to Baron, and Bento might be caught out here.
Well, Bento having to pop the Unbreakable Will ASAP, but it doesn't do that much. It's only rank 1, meaning that is a Bento eaten up for lunch, and Panda rightly chomps on down. Might as well have been a piece of bamboo. WJV, though, can't really get much more from that kill, so they'll just go right back to farming.
Yeah, they don't want to risk going for that Baron nor the Otacon. They both deal so much damage, take so long to kill. Looks like there is going to be some focus maybe given to taking down that top tier 1. I think that would be good, but they don't have mid waves pushed in. So in the end, it's starting to look like they're really falling into this trap of, sure, they get a pick, they get a kill, but what are they getting off of that? This kill onto Bento was good in the moment, but no permanent advantage was gained from it. They are going to take the moment to reset, go back, kill some camps. Sourcewalker is going to back, try and start building towards some defensive items here. But as I was saying with that dragon, every fight WJV has lost at the dragon has been a fight that they started by actually leashing the dragon and trying to take it. The fights they've won have been the fights where they either went fully into the fight or allowed Flash Syndicate to start the dragon themselves. Now with the threat of Soul, they can allow Flash Syndicate to just walk in and start it, because Flash Syndicate can't afford to just give it over. That's why you're seeing Adaptable Ape on this bottom side flipping the map, because they know in a minute's time they're going to have to be there. But now Ape's got a lot to go through as to Flash.
immediately out. Doesn't want to do anything, but of course you can only run so far. The adaptable becomes unadaptable and you can't adapt to that much damage. Blush is able to route them, and that means for this upcoming battle, Adaptable 8 will have to TP in a little bit late. Dragon is going to be parallel straight to that respawn timer.
Yeah, and he's going to have to expend the teleport. They don't have a pushing wave in the top side though, so Terry is going to be able to threaten that tier 2. They're going to have to look for a trade, but no pushing wave in mid either means that they're in a pretty defensive spot, even though, again, they started off by getting a pick. This could be sketchy. It looks like they're trying to overload this top side of the map, but they could put themselves in a really risky situation where they use a lot of cooldowns before the Dragon's up. Looks like Flash Syndicate might just accept that they can't really fight the soul. Dragon has spawned, but instead they're just taking the Otacon. It's almost like they've called their bluff. They knew that WJV was not well enough set up on the Dragon, so they're just going to go ahead and take the Otacon.
And I actually really like this call. However, there is going to be a rebuttal at the end. Ruinous Otacon is already down, though, so that is going to be a huge boon in the permanent buff. However, the plants need to be taken. Solar Flare lands on a 2, though, and this resounding fight might be big. Panda is able to try and stave off any extra damage. Bento, once again, left in the mix. Lean goes ahead and Buster Shots out, but you don't Buster Shot away the claw. And that is your downfall, as Blush is able to go on a killing spree. Tower is still up, though, in the top side, so Flash Syndicate are saved for the moment. But the payment and the cost, honestly, it's worth the output as Flash Syndicate get away with the Otacon.
But the whole time, Jarvan has been hitting the Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
So they get the soul and they win the 4v5. And this is exactly what they drafted for, but Terry finds his way back to Epitome. He says, remember me. He wants to go back to the way the early game was. He doesn't want to remember all of the times he's died in team fights. He just wants to go back to solo killing Epitome. But as we go back to the current game state, 30 minutes, and we've already got the Chemtech sold. That's going to make it so difficult for Aurora to assassinate any of these targets because of that damage reduction coming through. But we are now in a position where Flash Syndicate still have the damage and the items and the champions to win one of these fights if they find a good angle, if they exhibit, you know, good discipline and shot calling in the fight. And now we're 5 minutes until Elder Dragon spawning. And I can't imagine, with how much damage they're already doing, if they're able to complete the Elder Dragon, it's going to be even more. They're going to be able to deal, I mean, they're not even have to worry about killing the whole health bars. So with the Ornn item upgrades now on all members of Flash Syndicate, it's getting, you know, we are at the late stage. We are at the end game where the gold starts to mean less and less because everyone is closer and closer to their full item builds. And it looks like we're going to be having ourselves a bit of a mid lane and Baron dance, as that's the only objective available on the map, and neither of these teams look like they're going to be able to set up any fights other than around these objectives.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do here. This is going to be a chance and a half here, of course, for Terry. You're wandering a little bit too close to danger again for this Aurora. You've been doing quite well in your own, like we were talking about. They've kind of been this hero wounded in battle and now coming back into their own late in this game, but gotta be careful. I'm still waiting for that GA to come out at some point, but Rover has become a menace in this top lane. It's been so dangerous, of course, for everywhere else on the map, but Rover has the tankiness to do this, and Adaptable 8 realizes it. It's a whole dangerous point. Source Walker tanks the tower, and it's going to be a nice little call in. WJV are able to draw the TP and say, okay, we're out. Terry's a little bit further behind, but Panda draws out not important. Not important, doesn't have the ult anymore, but Blush trying to run away as quickly as possible, and it's going to be a chase in Bento. Wondering exactly how they're going to play as the entire backlane is stopped by Source Walker. That is huge and Epitome coming around for round number 2, but knocked up on the backside. So WJV happy about where they're at, and that is going to be the GA pop, but no one's really going down. Finally, Terry finds the kill, and not important, tries to dive in, but I don't think they're going to get too much else. WJV goes ahead and trades their mid laner for the enemy jungle, and it's going to be a 1-for-1. True Shot Barrage, though, trying to bring everyone close, but Flash Syndicate low on HP, probably don't want to continue.
Rover doesn't have the ultimate whiffed on that public execution, still putting himself in danger, but there just isn't any damage that could come through to possibly kill this Ambessa. I mean, Terry really played hero mode. It was a 4v5 to start because of how late the teleport was, and Terry was able to just explode the Ezreal, and that really was the turning point. The only reason it ended up being a 1-for-1 is because Not Important went ballistic and flashed forward with nothing to do. So again, we just kind of, you know, the keyword I've been using is dance. Both of them know that their only real way to break open this game is through the Baron, but none of them have really the vision or the setup to just start it. So they just keep kind of throwing stuff out there. They look for the dive on Ornn, but Ornn clears the wave. They don't really want to go for it, but Nocturne ults in. So we're just kind of going back and forth. And again, clearing bot to top here. Rover, the only person on WJV with the teleport, so they're going to go bottom lane and push that wave out, threaten a split. On the opposite side, again, just fighting over the Scuttle Crab, fighting over vision, and fighting over mid push so they can have an easier time setting up this Baron.
I mean, this Baron is going to be so dangerous as well. WJV have gotten that soul, and they're playing with everything in the bank, and this feels like that breaking point in Flash Syndicate. They haven't had an amazing time, but they got the Ornn level 18 already banking into that top side, has all the ornaments out for the entirety of the team. Bento now scaling up as well at level 13. See what they can do. Hex Tech Flash being used and run straight into Panda, but Terry is the one that's caught out yet again. You're trying your best. You run warp out, but it's a great dodge away as Rover tried to snipe the back line. And it's going to be a great disengage coming out for Flash Syndicate, but do they want to go even further? In goes Panda, and I don't know if they want to go further, but a nice seated blade brings them even closer, and I don't know if they enjoy this. Panda is bumped all the way back to tower, and that is a shutdown going over to Lean's edge. It is going to be Rover to try and follow up, but it seems that WJV once again dove a little bit too far. Flash Syndicate take that kill.
I mean, it's giving a little bit of desperation. I don't think that they needed to commit that hard in the mid lane. There's nothing really to get for it. Even if they get a chunk, I mean, it's not like they couldn't just walk right back and contest the Baron. You don't have a ton of damage on it. And Epitome wasn't even there for that whole fight. And now, with Panda down after over-aggressing, they can come in here and clear out these wards. And it looks like they're finally going to start the Baron. And WJV is nowhere near it.
It's just a free Baron. Again, these buffs have been around, but I say it's free, but it's not. Flash Syndicate realizing that maybe they dove a bit in, and they started it a bit too early at that point. It may pay for their crimes. Flash Syndicate waiting, and that might be the turn. Of course, Terry realizes that there is no turn. It's just WJV taking it all here, and they will take more than enough. But of course, Terry is saying, hey, you forgot about me. Is able to snap back a few more, but WJV finally cleaned them up, and it's WJV to go ahead and collect 4. Only one left alive is Lean, as unfortunately the poor ADC will watch the Baron fall.
I mean, the only really good Baron taker for the side of Flash Syndicate is the Tristana, so they take it so slowly that WJV is able to walk up and take the fight. And we've seen this throughout the entire game. Whatever team starts the objective is usually the one that ends up losing these fights. They're walking down now to Elder, and with 30 seconds on Terry, Lean is still the only person on the map. I don't know if they're going to be able to get down to this Drake pit and contest in time. So that might be, after 36 minutes and so much time spent dancing around these objectives, in one fell swoop, the Baron buff and the Elder Dragon buff to WJV.
I mean, it's a scary moment when WJV have pretty much cleared all of the global objectives that they have hoped for. Early game was Flash Syndicate, but the Flash is over now, and it's in for the long game. We're at 36.5 minutes. WJV, I mean, they are now in the driver's seat, and that gold, it has swung heavily. Earlier 3K for Flash Syndicate, then even in now about 6.7K for the Weakside jungle victims, and at this point they are the strong side. All that's left is to power down those towers.
Yeah, and you've got to be so careful when defending against Elder Dragon. You can make attempts, but you have to figure out really quickly what can you give up. Topside, both turrets are still alive, so it looks like for now WJV is trying to get some of these standing objectives, or standing structures, excuse me, down to make sure that even if they aren't able to end on this timer, the next time they go for a play, there are fewer structures in their way. Looks like the mid wave is pushed out pretty well too, but last thing that they can afford is Bento or someone getting caught out looking for vision in the jungle. They have to just play within their fountain for now, or play within their base, I should say. Because if you go out there and get killed, you can barely win a 5v5 against Elder Baron. You're definitely not going to be able to win a 4v5 against it.
No, it's going to be tough. And right now, this is just the weight of WJV. They've gone ahead and collected and weathered the early game storm. Collected their due rewards, and now they are ready to land on the treasure island. Of course, it's only step number one. This is game one only. I'm sure there's more to come now. Flash Syndicate, one last hurrah is in order. I don't think you want to go out with a whimper here. Waves being cleared topside. Now finish off bot lane. I mean, I don't think you're going to go for that inhibitor tower. Everyone trying to power up here. Terry going back for a last ditch effort, plighting Jewel. And it looks like WJV are still tangling just a little bit slowly. They're taking their time. They're making sure to collect the waves and get those super minions in. And Flash Syndicate, they're being granted time to try and scale up a little bit more, but that's a jump in, that's a catch. Terry is almost blown up here. The Elder Dragon might be able to drop some executes here. Knock up on the backside. It's that's what he was trying to fight, but it doesn't even matter. Rover helping out, but that's going to be the burst coming right back in turn. But the burst is not enough as the strength and weight of the Kenta Dragon keeps WJV alive, and they will go ahead and claim game number one.
What an impressive way to start off this series. They were put so far behind in the early game, but they show why. They were undefeated in their series records. They were not shaken at all, especially Epitome. I mean, he was the one who was put behind. He was the one that was giving Flash Syndicate their win condition to play through Terry. He had so much gold, and in the end, he made so many key plays to keep them alive. And the other guy I really want to give a shout out to is Blush. Comes in as a substitute. Most damage in the game. He played so well on this Ezreal, and definitely later in that game, he was putting out so much damage. He made these fights so difficult for Flash Syndicate to play.
It was... I will say it was like the engine fell apart in the early game, but they quickly patched it up. You know, they were able to get the car running, and they made it work. And as you said, that sub in that bottom lane, Blush, did so well. But shout out to basically everyone. It was a very much a team effort. You can see it swing there at one point about 2.9k on the lower side, and then immediately jumping up at around the 26-minute mark. Honestly, for Flash Syndicate, you got to be happy about that early game, but what went wrong and what are you hoping to see change come this second game for the Flash Syndicate group?
I mean, I feel like they really just need to keep their game plan singular. It felt like they were trying to do a little bit too much. They were trying to find picks on side lanes. They were trying to split push a little bit, and that really shouldn't have been the change, seeing as all of their success, yes, sure, it came from early game solo kills, but it came from winning these dragon fights where, you know, the other team was setting it up. You were able to grab it, as we saw with that, the sole dragon that Flash Syndicate was able to take came after the first two were given up because of just early game fighting. I feel like they have to stick to what their draft is best at and not try and, you know, turn away from it and terms of like trying to find other advantages on the map.
Well, that's something that we'll have to watch for, as right now that is game one done, and of course the first seed comes out with it. But I mean, if you watch the game, you'd see the sweat on their brow. Of course, going into game number two, we'll be curious to see which side Flash Syndicate decide to take and what champions they opt to play for. But of course, when it comes to production, we do want to give a big shout out to our sponsor. Once again, it is Zen Market. Have you ever had a problem longing for that special Japanese item but can't find it locally? Well, we do have the solution for you. Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check out the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with the promo code Aegis, that is AEGIS, you get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. That is once again AEGIS. We'll go ahead and watch a short video from them, and when we come back, game 2 draft on the way.
日本限定あ全マーケットを使わった
今日は老舗をしっかり見て回らなくちゃね。
いやいや、ここはジャンル順でしょ。
名前順の方がいいんだよ。
現代か洋代の名前順？
あ？
ローマ字それともひらがな？僕は色で並べるのが好きなんだけどね。全部に対応させよっか。
おお。
80年代のホラーゲーをください。これでみんな幸せ。
ありがとう、全マーケット。
Game number 2 on the horizon now, and of course we have to bring back the original face here of the ADL. It is Quacks, not Jack. Don't worry, we'll get the change at the bottom. Quacks, game number 1, thrilling turnaround as Flash Syndicate took the early 10 to 12 minutes, and then it was team fight after team fight after team fight. Maybe some individual roles, and then team fights yet again for the side of Weakside Jungle Victims. Game number 2, I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited too. I got to tune in to, you know, kind of the midway point, I want to say, of game number 1. And it certainly seemed like when I tuned in, we had Flash Syndicate really challenging the Titans, really, you know, potentially going for an upset against the Giants of Weakside Jungle Victims. But then WJV, they find a crucial pick onto Terry. They shut down the Aurora. That win con becomes a little bit less relevant than it was before it got, you know, all of those kills onto it, or, you know, from it. And suddenly it felt like, you know, just through superior team fighting, WJV managed to weather that early game storm and come back. So really good, you know, adaptation and really good gameplay from both sides. And I really am wondering, you know, how is that going to translate in the next game? What are the mentals after such a turbulent game 1?
Course, and I mean, with that blue side pickup, Flash Syndicate might be able to yield some results here. So far, bans relatively the same. The Master Yi and the Vel'Koz both were taken away before. However, the Gwen, it might be open here, which means Flash Syndicate do want to leave it off the ban table for the time being, and maybe force Weakside Jungle to ban it out instead. J4 also swapped out. It was for Weakside Jungle victims. They actually banned him out 2 of Flash Syndicate's comp last time, and then they banned the Gwen.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised to see the Gwen ban, one of the strongest champs in the game. But now Flash Syndicate have a few options on what they want to go for that first pick. Ambessa was prevalent in that first game, so that is always, not only a good first pick in the top lane, but also a potential takeaway that Weakside Jungle victims might want to go for. The Corki is also open. It really is just a matter of which lane are you prioritizing, and the blind Galio is a bit perplexing, Orbital. Usually this champion is a response on, either pick 4 or pick 5 as, just to a heavy AP comp, but WJV have not showed their hand on those solo laners yet. So I'm really wondering if we're going to see some circumvention come through because Galio isn't as effective against a lot of those AD champions.
And I mean, we did see Epitome actually hold up very well against just about anything. So I'll be curious, right? This is going to be Terry kind of leading the charge there, and this might be why. Okay, so alleviating some of that early pressure in the mid lane and dropping it down to the bottom lane with an APC Ziggs to come out here, especially against a Lucian Nami, which WJV are saying it doesn't matter what you're going to put, we're going to try and rock the early game.
Yeah, and now my biggest question is, what are Flash Syndicate going to put in the middle of the team? And there's the answer. Xin Zhao going to be locked away. I was, usually the biggest and, best combo with Galio is that Jarvan, but with it being taken away, I think Xin Zhao is the next best thing. Wind Become Lightning lands, and it allows you to get in there with the Audacious Charge, and it really just gives Galio an opening to land a Massive Heroes entrance. So I'm wondering if that's going to be the only thing that, Flash Syndicate are going to be relying on, or maybe if they're going to try and get, another character to get into the middle of a team fight via that top lane.
Well, right now the top laners are led pretty much scant for whatever they want to try and do. The Maokai locked in for that jungle position, which I can only assume. Great divert away if you so wish, but the Scion banned away for Flash Syndicate. That does mean that they are also going to roll with that Ambessa. We saw how well Rover used that Ambessa to kind of pick apart the backlines and kind of create chaos in a normal regular team fight. So both top laners losing out on some of the champs.
I'm wondering if WJV are maybe going to pivot to a support ban here for something like a Rel, right? Maybe just try and avoid, getting grabbed altogether with a comp like this. The AoE damage from Flash Syndicate is really insane. So no respect whatsoever paid toward the support here by Weakside Jungle victims. Instead, they're just going to focus all of their efforts on narrowing down that top lane champ pool. And I mean, I have to imagine now we're probably going to be seeing the mid laner get taken up here. So yeah, we'll be seeing the Syndra. So we've got a decent amount of pick potential. Syndra plus Maokai gives your carries a lot of time to just free hit onto certain targets. But my biggest concern really is that damage. Outside of Lucian and, the Syndra that will eventually scale, you don't have a ton of heavy hitters here in the second game, Orbital. And so I think that's something that Flash Syndicate could exploit by saying, okay, we're going to get something like a Rel. We're going to get a frontliner with our Xin Zhao, something that can duel, and we are just going to stat check you early on, really apply that damage where we know you can't and move from there.
Well, let's see if they can do some more, because right now Flash Syndicate are building up a wall of defense here, which means that this Galio might go a different direction. This Ziggs is now primed for a chance in the mid lane. I don't know. Whenever I see a Braum, I normally look for an auto attack base.
I don't think we're going to be seeing Galio in the, but it's possible it could go in the top lane, but we don't yet know what Weakside Jungle victims are putting up there. And now I think those chances are slim to none. Kasante going to be locked in. Quintessential blind pick for top laners. Usually picked a lot earlier in the draft. So Flash Syndicate's really saving that one till the bell. Now WJV might be looking for a Camille Hawken. We said they needed some oomph, some power in that top lane, Orbital, and this is, something that I would definitely consider to check off those boxes. And on top of that, also provides a decent amount of split push potential, something that we saw a lot of in that first game. So I like the Camille lock-in. The setup with the Maokai is really good. My biggest concern is just that if this Lucian doesn't get ahead, it feels really bad for WJV to go into a comp like this, right? You are looking at Flash Syndicates, and these guys can disengage whenever they want. They want to get engaged on, and I really think that it's going to be up to the Camille, up to the Maokai to keep that in mind and really pick their battles, because if they're willing to just fight all willy-nilly, they're going to get a very, very rude awakening and learn a very tough lesson.
And of course, my eyes are really drawn to that mid lane, though, because this is the largest shift that I think we saw. Earlier, Terry had a very gung-ho go in, burst out against Epitome, and now Epitome has a chance to kind of fight back because Terry's on a little bit safer champion. Well, I wouldn't say pure safer because it is a Galio. You can still bulk up, you can still do damage.
Yeah.
But do we see Epitome having a better time now instead of Lissandra? You gone for that, Syndra?
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to think so, right? Galio is just literally, I have said this before, but I consider Galio to be basically the Gragas of mid lane, right? You just neutralize lane. It's really hard, I think, to lose lane as Galio. I can't remember the last time I saw a Galio go like 0-5 in lane in his current state. So I do think that this is kind of just Flash Syndicate's way of saying, hey, we know mid lane was kind of a huge point of contention in this game. We're going to try and maybe get attention over to the other sides of the map, most notably maybe give some love over to the jungler, over to the Ziggs, and maybe win through the Xin Zhao and the large AP threat Squirrel that we have on our team.
Well, let's see if they can do it right now. Flash Syndicate, they had a great early game last time. Now they pivoted a little bit more towards maybe that mid game. We'll see with the bulk that they have. For WJV, though, Weakside jungle victims. So far, game one was in their hands. Let's see if game two will go the same. We'll be right back with more ADL, as of course, we welcome Quacks back to the decks, but we'll be right back to ensure that the internet stays same as well.
Don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, 'cause when we're gone, everything goes on. You were staring at the window, and I said, I wanna take you to the sea. And when I'm better, we'll do everything. I gotta stop making promises I can't keep. But if I was gone tomorrow, won't the waves crash on? Is it selfish that I'm happy as we pass the setting sun? Someday I'll be overcast, but you won't have to cry, 'cause we'll do the grieving while I'm by your side. I said, don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, 'cause when we're gone, everything goes on. And I'm so scared of getting used to this. All the vines that keep you tethered in your room. Well, someday both of us are leaving here, but for now I'll just bring this sea to you. Will you meet me in the daylight like we did before? Then I felt you on my shoulder, and you weren't suffering anymore. You said, I'm sorry that you worried, but don't apologize. I told you to forget me, but you stayed by my side when I said, don't try to make yourself remember, darling. Don't look for me, I'm just a story you've been told. So let's pretend a little longer, and when we're gone, everything goes on. Tell me, where do I go? Tell me, where do I take us?
Off we go for game number 2 as Flash Syndicate here on the blue side, given their best double AP style composition with the Zinzao in that jungle position. But of course, they are looking for that little cheeky invade. As soon as you have a Braum, it's always on the table.
30 seconds until minions.
And I like the response coming out here from Weakside Jungle Victims. You can see the ward placed by Blush, rather. The capitalization messed me up. So we'll get spotted out there. We're going to clear the ward though. So for the time being, that invade thwarted. On the other side though, you can see WJV with a pretty apt response, gonna place a vision on that blue buff. So we will, at least if we are Weakside Jungle Victims, get an inkling as to where Not Important could be pathing, where he could be starting. But I feel like even without that ward, you have to think the bot side definitely is going to be the priority for Flash Syndicates going forward.
Yeah, I would sit there and posit the same. I mean, this is And we saw it in game number one, not important ganking twice with that paranoia on the Nocturne before, just heavy lean down there. And I keep saying lean because lean is in this game, but it makes sense. Of course, with Bento in tow, we'll see if Blush and Panda are also going to be the annoyances, because Blush last time, amazing job on that as you're really dancing their way to victory. And now on another very skirmishy and annoying champion in the Lucian, it's going to be Blush being that big carry.
Flashy as well. I mean, Lucian has a ton of outplay potential, can really dance around team fights and, you know, make use of that E, just keep on free hitting. So if he gets gold, I feel like he'll have a lot more agency in fights so long as he's well protected. And we talked about it a lot in draft. You know, you've got a Maokai, you've got a Nami, and so there's a decent amount of peel for you just going into fights. And I mean, just look at that damage, the early game aggression with that PTA. WJV's bot lane really just trying to put the hurt on this Ziggs Braum.
Another side of this map is Rover and Adaptable Ape. They went at it like cats and dogs last time, and this time it's only increased because Camille and Cassante, they're a lot squishier than the others that we saw, than the Mbessa and the Ornn, both taken down to about 250 HP. It's a dangerous spot to be playing in. Remember, Flash Syndicate, they got the early 3 kills before. Let's see if they can do it again.
But I mean, Adaptable Ape is running relatively low on mana. Rover is also the first one to 3, so Cassante going to be on the receiving end of a lot of these aggressive trades early on. Has to be very mindful of that hook shot. Both of these top laners as well taking grasp means that there's a bunch of self-sustainability here in this matchup, and so we probably are going to see a lot of extended trades come through from both sides.
Just a little bit longer, making sure that they get all the damage down early. Level 3s being hit by Blush and Panda as they are continuing to exert their pressure. What a bubble lane as well. I don't know if Bento actually took it. Flash in the snipe, but Blush gonna get under the tower. Oh, that hurts so much. Bento, though, able to put up that wall just in time. But my gosh, that could have been 2 in the bank for WJV.
I mean, that was extremely close. Not important. Also very, very close to the river. But it's a decent amount of vision protection here by WJV's bot side. So this is not really going to be able to make a splash. Instead, you're going to be relegated to the top side of the map. And you maybe look for something there as Rover is trying to crash this wave, but just doesn't really have the mana to do so.
It's been a tough going. Quite honestly, I almost would expect a little bit of an early recall. You got the TPs, and I know you don't want to, and you want to be able to hit that item break point, but there's some points where you have to realize you're not going to enjoy what's going to happen next. Right now in the mid lane, though, Terry still getting some great trades down in the early game. Epitome, of course, running that first strike. If you don't get the first strike, it feels pretty dang bad. Not important, though. Already leaning into that top side and saying, okay, I'll make a short pit stop up there, take out the ward, and force Rover to play a little bit safer.
Now he's just going to shadow here. He's going to go for his first reset, but I don't know, it gets canceled as well as Adaptable Ape.
Oh, okay, so Rover being able to burn that flash feels great. Not important, just trying to get some extra damage down. That'll be the wave. Epitome in the mid lane getting the wave underneath the tower, but again, not important. Really joining into this top lane feels pretty good.
Helps push the wave in, but it's a little too late. I feel like instead of just looking for those backs and maybe, you know, banking on Rover going a bit too far, you just push that wave in with your top laner, give him a reset, and now you can see the consequences of waiting so long. Sourcewalker has already reset, got his Faded Ashes. He is done with his Krugs and is now going on to his Raptors. Meanwhile, you as the Xin Zhao, the champion that needs to be proactive in the early game, are just starting your second sequence. So it's a huge timing advantage here for WJV's jungler. And I'm wondering if you know they get that information, maybe they can look for a dragon or an objective.
I mean, we'll have to wait and see exactly where they push for those early objectives. Keep in mind as well, WJV, before in game number 1, they went for those dragons. They got stalled out in one of them, but after that, it was a grand show. Flash Syndicate, though, they went for the grubs early. This time around, Sourcewalker in tow are able to lean onto that dragon and be able to gather it at a much earlier pace. You take a look where not important is, you are not in a position to trade out those grubs just yet, meaning Sourcewalker might be able to gather both objectives or at least contest at a second. Ward being covered here, and that stalls out yet even more time. Sourcewalker going to collect dragon number 1.
And this is really good timing. I mean, Terry wasn't really in the area either, so he wasn't able to, you know, get a heroic entrance combo down with his jungler, so it's just Dragon for free. You mentioned it on the other side, though. Not important, not able to get those grubs, so no trade really there for Flash Syndicates, and it's really all because of that late back, I have to think, from the Xin Zhao, just, you know, staying top lane too long and providing a bit of that timing window for the Maokai.
Here's hoping there's a little bit more to play with as we do get to go ahead and see the top lane once again. I love how the camera just obviously pans up there as we watch Adaptable Ape and Rover just see us up and keep it the exact same. They're both at 41. Of course, a little bit of a give over to Rover, as I think they had like about half a wave. Adaptable Ape now going ahead and using that TP to get back in the lane here, and we'll see if that trades anything out. Rover with a little bit earlier timing, I think about a third of the time left on TP, so pretty good there.
And he's going to TP to get prio for his jungler. You can already see not important kind of around the top side river. Probably going to be going onto those grubs. Doesn't really have to worry about Panda or a potential numbers advantage surprising him there, because they have vision of the Nami. They know where everyone on Weakside Jungle Victims is, and they have the priority in order to go for this objective. So this is now where the trade is for Flash Syndicates. It's a little bit late, but, you know, as the saying goes, better late than never.
Of course, and you know, you're happy about that trade because the early game has also gone much quieter. Keep in mind, around this time, Epitome was down, what, 0-3, I believe, in the laning phase. It was not a comfortable slot to be in, and Terry's still trying to do the same. But again, with the Galley, you only have so much damage. Bento now joining in this mid lane action, and Epitome is like, really, we're gonna do this song and dance again and again. It's annoying to see Epitome now trying to save their pink ward, and I don't know if that's actually going to happen. Oh, wait, you do, as Bento gets bubbled up, and in comes a little bit of a bomb, and Epitome now trying to flash away, but Terry gets right into the mix, and that's Epitome to once again get CC'd out. There is no safety from the autos, and Two Fists take first blood. And Terry and Flash Syndicate do it yet again. However, will there be a response? Blush joining in now, gets a little bit of boost from Panda, and now Bento is getting chewed out. There ain't no safety here. The culling will cull Bento's life to get the revenge kill.
Yeah, so there we go. Kill going on to Blush, and I have to think that that is worth it for Weakside Jungle Victims, because now Blush is going to be able to catch his way, maybe get another kill.
Oh no, Blush, the hero from game one, becoming the grand hero in game two. However, it's Panda to get the kill. Either way, though, big win for WJV's bot lane.
And Panda did not have to take that kill, but nonetheless, you know, a kill is a kill. Weakside Jungle Victims coming out victorious in that trade, and one more kill will net them the feat of warfare, so that's definitely a feels good.
Okay, a little bit of fight on the top side. Rover gets a shield just in time, so you are going to stay alive underneath this fight. Adaptable Ape, though, being able to force a fight beneath, even tries to tower dive a little bit further. But for Flash Syndicate, they're starting to lay on the pressure a little bit more. And you can see WJV being a little more cognizant of that.
Move up.
Yeah, but not important in Bento, though. They're
shield.
saying, hey, this is easy for us. Flash is available, but you're gonna only try and die. What a predict from not important as you go ahead and collect that one. So Flash Syndicate make good on that fight.
I mean, I feel like Rover didn't have to flash. You have to certainly feel like you're dead there. There really was no outing for you as the Camille, but nonetheless, it is a kill for Flash Syndicate. Rover does have teleport, or actually doesn't have teleport, so will miss a good amount of waves, a good amount of experience. I mean, you can already see that CS difference in the top lane is making a difference in favor of the Cassante, and we talked about it in draft. You need this Camille to get ahead in order for it to be useful, not just in team fights, but especially in sides. And so far, the attention for it has just not been there from WJV.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because Source Walker just doesn't want to go up there. They're just a little bit late because right now it's this bot side that's huge. Bento being able to collect and save Lean. Lean, who has in this bot side really felt the weight of the Lucian Nami combo, has to recall yet again. Has TP though.
Blush is going to teleport as well, so Lucian going to be plenty healthy for this upcoming dragon. Epitome as well as that teleport. So we are going to see a return to power here for Weakside Jungle Victims around this bot side. And This does, however, open up, a potential timer for Flash Syndicates to maybe lay down some vision, at least gather some information on where WJV are moving for this dragon, and who knows, maybe they can counteract with that. They have the hero's entrance, they've got a lot of those team fight ultimates, but crucially, no Mega Inferno Bomb, so that will be down for this fight.
I mean, that's a huge boon as well, as Lean is going into that much more scaling heavy. You love to see the Saracen Embrace come out here, but the Dragon, of course, as we said, started up for WJV. We're still watching this top side as River and Adaptal 8 will not join, and yet again, this Dragon smited away by Source Walker, and this time, zero fight brought out by Flash Syndicate. Instead, they'll route towards that tower and try and take a couple plates for their name.
And good on Source Walker to use the Twisting Advance in order to peel off Not Important from taking away that Dragon. Really don't want to leave that one up to chance, and they're really not taking any chances here.
Oh, no, Not Important. Where were you going? And that's just a huge burst out. Well done for Epitome. Again, not giving up kills this time, and instead taking kills on Not Important's life.
And also just taking that cross-map play. I mean, look at the other side. Blush is on the top side with his jungler. Such an interesting combo to take those grubs, but they're going to get probably all three of those. Hold on.
I mean, that's going to be Bento caught out here, but a great channel by that heroic entrance might be enough as Mega Protobomb comes in, does enough damage, but Terry goes for two different targets at once. Epitome might be able to get a nice little secure. You were chewing through the HP bar, but the pot is not going to be enough. Now on the top side, Adaptal 8 is going to go down as Rover was able to find a split map fight just in time for a little bit of a grub take just as well. So across the map, action galore.
And we are likely going to see Flash Syndicate take that bot lane turret as well. So Lean and Bento going to be freed up in this game, but I feel like that is only small kudos, honestly, to what Weakside Jungle Victims got, right? Not only did they get a kill on the other side of the map, but they themselves are going to get the 3 grubs. They're also going to unlock the feats of strength. So a big amount of power going into this red side team. And it feels like Flash Syndicate are just that little bit behind here, Orbital.
Yeah, they are a little bit behind as we are currently frozen for a time being. But as you mentioned, this is going to be a chance and a half. We are going to go back to our faces. Lovely as such as my heart hopes, my brain says a different thing, as right now we are
Oh, I hear the sounds of Summoner's Rift.
Oh, did we get back? Did we get back? Maybe we're able to find it. Either way,
maybe
it's still being chaotic because still we're seeing Weakside Jungle Victims be very heavily focused in the team fight aspect. Their fights so far has still been so clean, been so active. And I really hope to see even further action from Epitome on this Syndra. And I mean, even Panda with the bubble so far has been so instrumental in keeping people alive.
Yeah, I mean, so far, it just kind of feels like both teams are doing a really good job at being proactive, right? We're seeing a ton of fights be started up here by the Flash Syndicates, and they get themselves rewards. It just kind of feels like Weakside Jungle Victims are a little bit ahead in every single trade, right? They get that extra little cent to be able to be the breadwinners of those cross-map plays. And, I mean, the gold obviously tells a different story, but a lot of those kills being netted onto Terry, I feel like, it was good last game when it was the Aurora, but this time around, I feel like the Galio just isn't as reliable of a carry.
It really isn't. That's why it's kind of scary. Bento now getting chewed out once again. That's the culling to go ahead and hammer home, and Source Walker gets one for themselves. It was a great catch as Bento been trying to clear out these wards and just not allowed the space due to WJV.
And Blush just going forward unafraid. I mean, you can see the damage on that Lucian. He's getting, rather close to that second item as well. That should be synced up around this third dragon. So Weakside Jungle Victims will have a very fed Lucian around that neutral, and that's one that Flash Syndicates really want to fight, right? You kind of have those warning sirens in your brain around that third dragon if you are the team that is on the receiving end or on the opposite end of your opponents getting soul point. They're going to want to respond to that, but you're dealing with such a fed 80 carry on the other side that the difficulty level is going to be continuously raising.
it's going to only increase because these are teams that are actively chasing for that crown just as well, and WJV really doesn't want to be taken down now. Heck, even in that, they want to ensure that they get a great win here, as this is going to be a dive underneath that tower. Great unstoppable from Adaptable 8, but of course it's going to be denied as Rover was taking tower pressure before, but they still circumvent that life. Adaptable 8 will unfortunately fall now on the bot side. Terry and Epitome are going to go at it once again, but Epitome, you just slide right out, as once again your team is taking everything here on the top side. Tower is going to go down. You had the feat of warfare as well, meaning you get the boots.
So they are going to take that top lane turret. It's going to be traded though in the mid lane. It looks like Lean should, no, actually he's not going to be able to get the mid tower. Epitome is going to respond with the TP of his own, and now the battle kind of becomes a war of attrition here, Orbital. Who can get that mid lane priority and take control of that river? You can see there are a couple of wards placed by Weakside jungle victims, so they for the time being have control of that bot side. But you know, Flash Syndicates, they've got priority in bot, they've got a way into the river, so they could just as easily turn that around if they wanted to. But I mean, the clock is ticking, and so far no attention paid to that river, or really trying to get vision around that part of the map.
No, and WJV, I mean, they have the composition to skirmish with very little vision, in my opinion. You got Blush, who's going to skirt around. Source Walker comes out with the Twisted Advance, and as well as all of the blooming roots. And not important, and Terry have to run front. We talked about Terry being strong, has the Hollow Radiance available, but again, if you don't see where the opponent is, you get stunned out just like this, and it's an immediate jump in. Mega Inferno Bomb is going to land, but it does minimal damage here. Glacial Fissure is able to route 4, and everyone is going to get jumped on here. Flash Syndicate going to try and turn it around, but WJV only leaving Source Walker. However, there is no extra damage here, so it is going to be enough for Flash Syndicate just to take that jungler. Blush trying to jump forward, but now he's going to get caught up. You flash straight into the knockup, as that's a shutdown for Terry, and now it's Flash Syndicate to chase. The wolves are hungry, and WJV don't want to be the victims here.
Blush wanted to be the hero, but unfortunately he falls before he can seize his moment. The Lucian may be strong, but it's such short range, and now they're in a 3v5. They don't have a jungler, but they want to fight this Orbital.
I'm not sure if the fight is the right call. It's not important. Peels off the dragon. It's slammed home with the shutdown as Terry claims that kill, and it's Flash Syndicate to take the first of the Hextech drags, and WJV, they thought they could get something, and they leave with even less.
You're not able to get anything at the end of all of that. No, Source Walker, he gets bursted down. He flashes inward instead of flashing away. So that means that Summoner Burn from Maokai, pick potential on this champion, and the ability for it to get picked in the next 5 minutes is greatly heightened and reduced at the same time. So I am wondering if Flash Syndicates, you know, knowing this, might say, all right, we got that objective. Maybe we can keep this train rolling. You can see that top side is somewhat warded up by WJV, but they can circumvent and clear some of that to maybe get some pressure onto this Herald. And Ziggs plus Herald basically all but guarantees you get a turret, and I feel like Flash Syndicates are really wanting that at this current moment, as they only have one.
I like how we only say one. Both teams are currently sitting at 1, and it's just like they've been battling they've been battling so much that that one tower feels like the most incredible accomplishment between them all. Of course, Blush just being a pain in the backside after that early kill, has only had 4 assists, but has still been able to farm up, is still outputting damage with that Essence Reaver, still waiting for that IE. But of course, Rover in their own has tried to be an annoyance. WJV once again trying to play the skirmish heavy, but Panda realizes they're not in a good spot, and they are blown up in expeditious pacing here. Rover couldn't complete the kill on Adaptable 8, so it is just Panda's life forfeit.
Panda goes down, will not be able to survive the damage from the Ziggs. 2 items now on Lean, was really just allowed to side lane all game as the Ziggs pick, right? It took a bunch of turrets, took that bot lane turret, took a bunch of waves. You can see, even though Blush has gotten so many kills through, you know, just participating, or so much gold in participation from kills, I mean, you look at the records, and Lean has gotten more, right? 2-0-4, 1-1-4. You know, 6 is greater than 5, and you know, Lean has 6 KP, whereas Blush only has 5. So the investment from WJV onto this Lucian, you know, they've worked so hard, but it's fallen short compared to the Ziggs, who is now starting to come online and really cause problems.
starting to become that pain in the backside, and Flash Syndicate, I mean, they had such a drastic shift in terms of where they wanted to direct a lot of their focus from the early game fights to now just keep Lean and Terry alive, and then maybe we play for that late game. They might have something that planned for. They are 2k up. They can continue making their moves, but Epitome on the spot side is saying, screw whatever happens there. We're just going to look for this kill. Terry now running for their life. Aegis Rush keeping them moving, but unfortunately that's going to be the tether. Now, is the damage enough? Over the wall, not important. Is going to try and join in, but Terry, I think, might be dead long before, so TP coming in as well. And right now, not he gets over the wall. No way. That is going to be Terry to stay alive, but of course, the Hextech ultimatum denies any further aggression. And this is WJV also having a collapse of their own. Rover ready to dance, but a great dive into the backside. Not going to work as the Deathful Ape is gone. Rover smashes that kill. Epitome lives to tell the tale as WJV take 2.
I mean, you know, Syndra with the fancy feet, the champion floats, but I mean, this one is, I mean, Syndra, Epitome is just dancing around the members of Flash Syndicate. It was initially looking a little bit doomer after that teleport channel completed with Terry not going down, but they don't find Terry, they find 2 others, and maybe Terry goes down here. But I mean, that phase rush, like you said, so valuable and so good at keeping its user alive.
It's been such a wonder right now. Both teams fighting on end that, again, it almost feels like we don't know the outcome until the outcome actually is commenced. So I'm curious to see. Right now, we're reaching into the 22-minute mark. Blush eating a single bomb on the top of their head. And we're seeing the damage. A rock out here. Dragon is going to be up in about 35 seconds.
Drake about
after,
30
but just not
seconds,
everyone.
like you said. I mean, Drake about 30 seconds, like you said. Neither mid turret taken, but both bot lane tier 1s have been seized by both teams. So a lot more openings to, you know, enter through that bot side and potentially make a pick on that side of the map. So I'm interested to see if that happens at all, as Bento may be flanked.
Oh boy, Bento has been caught out once or twice before, but this time not important is there. Crescent Guard is up, but again, there's only so much you can do. But you stalled out enough time. Heroic Entrance is going to cut off any extra supply, but WJV are holding it. What a wave into Scatter the Weak. It is the entirety of Flash Syndicate caught, and the Syndicate might be put into jail. Terry able to body block for Lean, as Lean lives on literally 1 HP. But WJV saved everyone there as they roam straight for that dragon.
And the Syndicates lose 2 in a flash. Panda, with an absolute masterful tidal wave, manages to peel for Rover. The Camille gets out. The damage comes through from Epitome and Blush. It makes the difference. Not important goes down. Bento goes down. The last casualty of this exchange is going to be the Dragon. And WJV, they are going to be on Soul Point Orbital. The bubbles and the waves from Panda this game have been immaculate.
You know, we were talking about Blush being so amazing in game number 1. We were talking about the fight back that WJV had, and maybe I fell into the pit that I tend to always do when you only look at the stats. You cannot discount the supports. Panda has been on point. Now, I hope I didn't just caster curse it, but Panda has, as you said, been amazing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to continue through the rest of this game.
I'm pretty sure caster curses get revoked if you say they're caster curses, right? It's kind of like a reverse jinx. Like, you know, you always, whenever you say something that you might jinx, you always say jinx. That's kind of this version of that. And there you go. There you go. Proof. He lives.
He does. He lives, but God dang it. Okay, listen, this is going to continue whether we like it or not, and right now it is a battle for some sort of lead. The towers that stay the same, but right now looming over the head of Flash Syndicate is the fact that Hextech Soul is on the board. So in the next 3 and about half minutes, Flash Syndicate are going to have to make a fight whether they like it or not.
Flash Syndicates definitely are on a timer, right? I mean, you are staring down the barrel of a team on Soul. A point. Rover is really close to getting 2 items. Camille, for all the difficulties that it had in the laning phase against this Cassante, for how far it was put behind, is starting to come back, is starting to scale up. And, you know, same kind of goes for Epitome. The Syndra getting very, very close to that 3 items, has Blighting Jewel in inventory, so the frontliners aren't even going to be safe. the scaling certainly going to be active in the next few minutes. And yeah, I agree with you. Flash Syndicates certainly on the timer to make something happen, but WJV have just been playing super safe, super cautiously, and overall haven't really been giving them an angle to look for any picks.
I mean, at this point, you have to recognize that team fights are going to come one way or another. Bento's still on a warning mission, and I have to give credit. Bento has done the job that no one else wants to. Has been caught out, I think, once or twice so far. I think like 2 of the deaths have been because you've been trying to ward. So still doing the job as a Braum, still stepping up to the plate, has the locket available. But we are waiting to see if Lean is able to help out there in getting that damage down. Epitome still farming up as well. Already has a Cosmic Drive plus the Blackfire Torch and the Blinding Jewel as well. So we'll be outputting some damage. Rover showing that they got some force to work with too, as they've kind of caught up from the early game. Now 3, 2, and 3 has that Triforce plus the Hydra in hand. We're starting to see a collapse come in though, as that's gonna be out the wave and branches and the culling to decimate Bento's HP bar, but it's not gonna be enough as Bento is able to live with 300.
And teleport expended there from Terry as well. That is a vital summoner spell burned off the Galio. Bento also burning both flash and heal, so an easy target for WJV to potentially go onto in this next dragon fight. Drake up in about a minute and a half, a little bit more than that, and WJV just trying to give themselves, an opening to, get some opportunities ahead of that exchange, and maybe just give them a more clear direction on who to go for if it actually devolves into a scrap.
Scrap might come one way or another, but WJV, I think is just happy that they're not working from a deficit this time. It's been a time and a half before where WJV, again, they were down about, I think 2.5, 3K at one point. But we are going to get a little bit of a pause right before the 27-minute mark. And WJV get a little bit of a breathing space to work with. Flash Syndicate doing the exact same as we take stock, and Terry, after getting the Hollow Radiance, has been able to pick up the Rift Maker. So not exactly just a tank as we've seen before.
And I mean, you want to talk about item spikes though, Orbital, look at the other side. Weakside jungle victims are really, really close to getting Epitome to that 3 items, right? Like we talked about, he has the Blinding Jewel, also has 7 stacks on that Dark Seal. So if this fight goes well, you can upgrade that into a book and then just continue stacking up as the Syndra. And then, Blush as well has that last Whisper. Funnily enough, actually still has the magical footwear boots. It hasn't upgraded those as an AD carry. I can't remember the last time I didn't see an ADC absolutely froth over the idea of getting attack speed boots, but I digress. But 3 item spikes coming through from 2 of the really big carries here on WJV, and I feel like Flash Syndicate, you have to fight this, but it would be an understatement to say that you are at a disadvantage going into this fight.
I think they're going to be at a disadvantage even if they, don't go into the fight. They're going to be at a disadvantage no matter which way they go.
I feel.
Yeah, and that's something that they have to come to terms with. I think at the end of the day, if you're looking at Flash Syndicate, you're saying, okay, no matter what, we can't go into this thinking that we're going to win. What we need to do is maximize our opportunity to win the small fights. I mean, we've been seeing the bombs land. Lean is starting to get in there. You're 3 items strong. You can do some damage if you land it. But we also, in my opinion, need to start seeing some of that magic penetration come through. I don't see any of it right now for Lean or Terry. I mean, at this point, I'm going to say it. I would love to see a Bloodletter. I think a Bloodletter would be awesome here.
I agree.
But it's not built. It's going to take some time.
Nope. Bloodletters isn't built, and I feel like Lean from here on out is probably just going to be trying to build defensively, right? Like you have 2 more inventory slots left, and you already bought your death cap, so the brunt of your AP has already been purchased. You're definitely looking at death cap to be kind of that cherry on top in a lot of builds as a magic damage user, and I do think that is a mistake. Like you said, you want Bloodletters, you want some form of pen as Flash Syndicates, because although the frontliners haven't been, necessarily as big of an issue as, say, the carries of WJV, they are still something that you need to get through in order to get to said carries. And as it stands, there really is no way for them to get through, the Maokais or the Camille's. Hell, the Camille doesn't even need to be like they don't need to breach through the Camille. They have to peel the Camille off of their backline. So it kind of feels like you are putting in twice the effort to deal with only one member while ignoring the rest of them.
I gotta agree on that one. And honestly, I'm also looking down at Blush and Panda, these two that have risen in prominence that we didn't really have eyes on before because Terry had such an explosive. But in the latter half of game number one, Blush popped off, and now Panda showing their strength. And these two, I mean, again, Blush is a sub, for Pete's sake, is rocking out here. And yet, even though they've laid down the damage, they're 1-1-6. If there's anywhere where WJV need to be a little bit worried, I would be looking at the bot lane. I mean, Lucian has a tendency to fall off towards that later edge of the game, which is why I think this dragon is so important. You really, really need this Hextech Soul if you want to be, I think, as effective as can be on the map.
I agree. I also just think Lucian is very money hungry, right? In order to make this champion effective toward that mid to late game, to sort of ignore the fact that he is one of the lowest ranged AD carries in the game, you need to give the guy gold, right? And like we said, he's close to 3 items, but 1-1-6 as an AD carry is not what I think most people would have in mind when you define being ahead, right? And especially, you know, given the context of where Lean is in his current scaling, it feels like it's just not enough in comparison. Now, this is only one matchup. That is the important thing to note. Lean, I would say, is the only one that is currently ahead definitively of his counterpart. I would say everywhere else it definitely leans toward WJV, but it is something to consider, right? We see how much damage that Ziggs can do. It's got 3 items. The death cap was just purchased, and so now those Mega Inferno Bombs could do some real damage. And if you're not careful, if you're disrespectful, you'd certainly find yourself in a much worse position than you are currently if you are Weakside jungle victims.
Of course, and we're gonna lean right back into this game as the pause is over, and we're gonna round the minute into what could be a very, very fun fight. Of course, we are seeing just a lot of pings going down here as Not Important is trying to farm up, who Not Important this game has been relatively shut down. The Xin Zhao has been put on a back burner, honestly, hasn't really been given the opportunity to go as aggressive. I mean, last time we were seeing the paranoias over and over and over again. This time you've had to run defensive. We didn't mention it before, but Not Important, I don't want to say lives up to the name in such a backwards way, but I mean, there's a reason you're 1, 3, and 2. You've had to use that crescent guard in such a defensive tactic that you haven't been allowed to fight. So let's see if that changes moving into this dragon fight. Oh no, Rover
is surrounded.
Okay, I just realized Rover was surrounded, but gets back with the rest of the team.
Yeah, and now WJV taking control of that bot side river, clearing out all the vision they could possibly want. Sourcewalker establishing sapling dominance here as well to just chunk out some of those members. And man, those health bars are falling, Orbital.
I don't think anyone really likes that. I mean, Bento has been the recipient of, do we want to go in? Well, no, but if we don't, then my HP bar is going to take a hit. It feels so bad. But the red buff is up right now on either side, so the burn is really where it's at. Dragon is now spawned out, and I like the fact that Epitome is out roaming into that mid lane, going ahead and trying to push that wave, and Terry realizes they have to go in. Rover steps up just a little bit too far, but Blush does the same, and there's the wave yet again, catching 3, but no one else is really going to fire out on the top side. Lean flash, and that means it's a 4v4, and this is going to be dangerous. Not important, though, getting a lot of safety. It's going to try and get healed up. Heroic entrance is able to give them a little bit of a mag shield, but Rover dives in the back line. Double bubble as well. WJV going on a spree. Adaptable Ape trying to dive the back line, but remember, the backline for backline is not the fight you want. But Flash Syndicate doing some work as down goes Lean. They did as much as they could, but guess what? Yet again, it's Blush and Panda to rise again. It has been 3 for 3 thus far, but Flash Syndicate way more hurt in there. That was a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's equal at the end of the day, but Blush just putting the hurt onto Flash Syndicates. And WJV, I have to feel like where they went wrong was just not being able to burst Not Important down fast enough, right? That magic damage shield coming in clutch. Terry's protection with that hero's entrance was enough to allow him to survive and really forced WJV's members to overcommit onto the jungler. So no dragon is taken, no turrets are taken. It's just a few kills going over to both sides as now everyone has respawned. The Hex Gates make it so much easier to get back to the objective, and everyone is a fan of Piltover and Jace Talos's inventions. They all take it back to the dragon, and we're back to square one, Orbital.
Square one, but with a little bit more golden bank. That is going to be leaned down without a flash. Keep that in mind. That happened on the top side, and this time it might be a huge play as Rover will be looking for that one. No Zhonya's either for lean, and I mean, I keep saying their name, but Blush also. No flash, no barrier could be popped at a single glance. And we're wondering what happens here. Rover now full HP. They're waiting to take that dive. Wave being played with on either end. Flash Syndicate and WJV, neither really wants to commit. But here goes the Dragon. It's down to about 8k. This can be burned very, very quickly. Rover, the stand on its. Yep, Source Walker hoping to wait it out, and there it is. Now they're going to turn on Dragon. Coling does some work, but Rover taking quite low. Heroic entrance, not going to land anyone. This might be the chance. Wave on 3. They can dive in. Blush off on the side, ready to do the damage. Source Walker is taking low. The Dragon is still beaten down on WJV, and that might be the call. That's going to be his fight. It goes WJV. That's going to be the soul, and now they can fight even further. Rover straight to the backline into the Hextech ultimatum, and they take that damage. Blush now with the Dragon power is going to run through Flash Syndicate, and once again, the Syndicate is routed. Epitome with the kill of their own. Terry is going to run, but you ain't gonna run too far, as that is a shutdown and ace for WJV.
And WJV aren't even going to skip a beat, Orbital. They're going to go directly onto the Baron. Blush unleashes in that team fight. They find the angle, and they commit. Flash Syndicates, they go down. But the question is, will they stay down? The gold still within, kind of eye view here of this blue team. And that they have a chance to come back, but it is looking dire. Baron secured, Soul secured, WJV looking to take us to a 2-0, Orbital.
Victims rise up against those oppressors of whoever's on the strong side of the jungle. I don't know, because WJV look like they rule all the jungle. Really, they fought so well. That was, I'm pretty sure, a wave take by Lean. I was wondering where that Mega Inferno Bomb went. But again, healthy on all sides. WJV realizing that they have a chance to start breaking down these towers. Bento once again trying to block up the damage. But Rover, we mentioned before that Rover has been playing this kind of in between, and we were waiting. I was almost going to say they tend to have to sacrifice their life for a lot of these team fights. But now Rover at 7, 3, and 5 is starting to become a menace thanks to the early game and mid game of WJV. As it's a 1-4 presence, the WJV are just going to knock down the rest of these towers.
It's a 4-1 split. Rover has the teleport available, so if a fight were to break out, he can immediately join, and that might be what happens.
That's going to be a very, very nice tether out. Coling still doing some work, but the Maokai holding it steady. Rover still in a 1v1 though with the tower plus the Doppel Ape, and Doppel Ape, you can't do anything there. Once again, a massive physical shield to go up here, and the chunks do so much as right now you knocked out Rover in a technical 1v2 now, as Terry realizes you don't want to be here. Another tower in the mid lane falls, and that is enough. WJV gathers so much gold in that push.
And now, top laner down for 40 seconds. Flash Syndicate don't have the numbers to contest this Otacon, and so Weakside jungle victims are going to immediately pivot to that top side. They abandon the siege for the time being. They push out this top lane wave to give themselves some more space, and no, they don't abandon the siege. They just move it in a different direction.
I have to say, this feels like one of the most efficient Barons to date. Feels very strong. They haven't really left. They even take a tower shot forward, so they cleared out, what was it? 1, 2, 3, I believe 4 towers, the rest of the outer towers in one fell swoop, and they're now sitting at about a 6k lead. WJV are going to be real happy about the turn of this game.
For sure. I mean, WJV, it was looking relatively back and forth for a good, 25 minutes of this game, but it really felt like that team fight to get the soul is what broke it open. Ever since then, it has been downhill. It has been a very fast descent here from glory for the Flash Syndicates. And they're going to have to get a flashy play in order to come back to this one, as Rover just stalking the enemy jungle. They are going to get word, though, that he is on the bot side, so they are going to start up the Otacon. Rover, though, does have teleport, so although he's not with his team now, if a fight breaks out, he can immediately join as this Camille.
mean, does it really need to, though? They burn it so quickly here, and it's going to be Source Walker just happy to collect. All the plants are going to go their way, and yet again, it is going to be a powerful permanent buff. Welcome to Damage Zone 101. WJV have it all. The only question to me now is where do they decide to push? Is it a 1-4? Is it a 5-man bully? Is it going to be a catch on the side as Terry was spotted out? There is no out here. You are gone. No bomb in the world is going to stave off that aggression. WJV find a pick.
WJV get themselves a kill onto Terry. The Baron buff, though, I believe, has worn out, so the siege not going to be as effective. I have to think even with a numbers advantage for the next 40 seconds, it's going to be hard for WJV to break open the bases. Hold on, Rover might be in trouble.
Rover, I mean, you're trying to find a way, but
Camille.
I mean, there's so much catch potential. Epitome tries to get the stun and actually does. Might be able to turn around, but the Crescent Guard denies any further from the Unleashed Power. So Rover is going to hop on the wall, shut down to Adaptable 8. But guess what? You're going to use that time. Great call from WJV. They said, hey, two are fighting on the other side. Your entire team for Flash Syndicate is there. And that will be the inhibitor Panda Blush, as well as Source Walker get away scot-free.
And this is going to be so good for WJV. I mean, the Elder is up in about 50 seconds, and Rover, you know, if ever there was a good time to die, this would be it. He'll be up for the Dragon. He'll be around. He'll have Flash. Hextech Ultimatum will be off of cooldown. So the Camille will be primed and ready to fight out for this Elder. But on the other side, that's what Flash Syndicate really have to worry about. Those supers are going to be flooding into your base. I mean, Adaptable Ape is trying to sort of cut it halfway, push up this wave so that those won't be too much of an issue. But WJV don't even really have to rush or rip this Elder right out of the gate. They can wait for that wave to crash on in and choke them out, because their base could be at risk of simply getting sieged by the minions alone.
It's such a breath of fresh air for WJV, especially considering that they needed this breaking point. Those minions are going to be shoving as you called, and now they get to play around it. Source Walker, though, says, screw it, we're not going to play around that. Instead, we're going to chase for your lives. Epitome, though, chunked out very heavily. Flashes in for the scout of the week and lands. You're going to sacrifice your life for this fight. Epitome, the absolute sacrificial lamb here. And Rover is going to take full advantage. Now, Blush on the side is going to chase as it's Weakside jungle victims, though, to get back now. As they realize the damage is huge, but Rover with a double, Rover with a triple, Rover with a penta kill in the final fight. WJV, 8th Flash Syndicate yet again.
And Rover's gonna take him all the way to Mars. Flash Syndicate blast him off, get blasted off into space. WJV are strong siding this series. There is no weak siding going on here in game number 2. They're gonna take us to series point. They are 1 game away from that next stage in the playoffs, Orbital.
There is always a hero in these games. WJV, though, says we're the Power Rangers. We don't need one because we have 5. They have been so amazing in transferring who is getting these leads, who is getting this value. Early game, it was Blush and Panda. By the way, Blush still did 47,000 damage, but Rover at the end punches through to force a 10k lead. And to have that pentakill to boot.
He kicks through. That's what Camille does. She doesn't punch. She's a lady. She kicks. And those kicks, those were the ones that I wouldn't say even punch through, just straight up sliced through the members of the Flash Syndicates. Such a dominant late game coming through from WJV. That early game, I mean, it's back and forth, you know, around the 20-minute mark, but it really feels like once that grouping happens for Weakside Jungle victims, the game just feels so much harder to play against them. So the early game, you know, we had a few scares here and there. You can see the gold lead is blue in some areas, Orbital, but those were not enough to capitalize off of for Flash Syndicates. WJV 2-0 in the series. One more win, and they will move on in the playoffs. And I have to think they can taste it. They are getting real close. And this team, you know, they were the best in their respective division. And so I have to feel like this is expected for them at this point. But it's really cool to see it for the first time. This has been a team that a lot of people have hyped up, and it's awesome that this is our first look at them on the official broadcast, I will say.
I mean, they're giving us a show and a half at this point. We're in the Coliseum. We are watching the best gladiators out there, and they are taking this stage perfectly. I am excited to see if Game 3 will go their way, if they'll clean sweep and move on to the semifinals, or if we see Flash Syndicate still fight it out, because the early game still holds a little bit of hope. We'll go to a very, very short break. Once we come back, ADL will continue and see if the series goes the distance. At this point, Rover just grabbed the spotlight, and yet it was everyone propping up that moment. The entirety of WJV really kicking in there at the end to secure game number 2, and it's looking cleaner and cleaner. Now going to game 3, they're staying on the same sides, and Flash Syndicate has got to pull something out.
Yeah, and I'm really looking at that B1, right? I mean, it's literally the reason that you go on blue side is to get a strong B1 pick that you can really, flex into the faces of your opponent. And I'm really wondering what that's going to be, right? Maybe something that we haven't seen before. I feel like it has to be something we haven't seen before, because so far everything we've seen from Flash Syndicate has been, kind of just parried by WJV perfectly. So got to pull out all the stops. Your back is against the wall. Your foot is about to slip off the cliff. And what are you going to do here as Flash Syndicate? That is the biggest question.
To me, it's you got to go for something crazy. You got to go for something zany, and it better be right now. Right now, we've also been looking at Terry as being that big piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
And it looks like Flash Syndicate, they're going back to game number 1. They grab the Nocturne yet again, and Not Important says, please give me that comfort.
This champion. I was thinking maybe something like a Neferi could be pulled out, something absolutely crazy on the current patch, but no, we go for the most overrated jungler in the whole game. I said it here. I think this champion sucks. WJV have a ton of room, I think, to counter it as well. They can go for a heavily proactive jungler in the early phases. I think Sejuani fits that niche perfectly. I'll keep talking while you collect yourself, Orbital. They could just straight up pair it with the Yone here. If they slam Sejuani, that would be absolutely crazy. I'll call GG right now.
I just keep forgetting until you talk about junglers that you are a jungle main yourself, so it makes it all the better. So
dude, it's like personal hatred for Nocturne. Really I have been a competitive player before. I have tried so hard to enjoy playing Nocturne. I just can't do it. It's like the same thing with Kayn. I try really hard. Like, believe me, guys, I do my best. They ask me what I'm doing, I respond with my best. But I just cannot seem to enjoy Nocturne or Kayn. So boring, man.
Well, you know what? At this point, Flash doesn't say it doesn't matter if it's boring. It doesn't matter if it's not fun to watch. We are going to play if it's comfort. They also grab comfort in the Galio and the Varus in the bot side. So a lot of CC heavy champions right now to almost match the Sejuani. On the other side, though, you grab the Ezreal, you grab that little extra safety, and now you get to see what that pick 3 is for WJV. You're gonna go, Mel.
Okay. That actually, I don't hate that. I mean, I feel like Yone would have been just great here. It's a perfect counter to Galio. It pairs greatly with the Sejuani. Sejuani is one of the most lethal jungle mid combos in the whole game, but not gonna pick that one up. It's all right. I still think Mel is really good and fits with the theme of this Ezreal, right? You are looking for poke. You are looking to completely dodge out on the hero's entrance because the hero's entrance can't cover the range that you can actually dish out on. So I like the sequence coming out here from the Weakside jungle victims. I will say, however, I want to see a little bit more frontline paired up with these guys just in case. I feel like Sejuani should not be the lone frontline tank to peel for her whole team.
Yeah, I mean, you can even see in WJV, they're like, we might or might not. Either way, we don't want the Wombo to come out. They immediately banned the Orianna and the Zillion, and they're just like, look, we don't want to, even though we see the Galio, we just can't give that option over. And now it's bans on the other side as Flash Syndicate ban out the last 2 top laners that Rover has played. And again, Rover has consistently had a quiet early game. Well, I say quiet, but they duked it out a lot up there, and then exploded in the late game. Has consistently been that monster that Flash Syndicate have to watch out for, which is pretty much their job. And guess what? Because you ban away the Mbessa and the Camille, you leave open the Aatrox, which was banned away in games 1 and 2.
Now I'm wondering really what the response is going to be from Flash Syndicates, because there are a bunch of different things that you can go for to counter the Aatrox, but a lot of them are banned, right? Urgot is one of the best counters to Aatrox. Mbessa is one of the best counters to Aatrox, and those are both taken away by Flash Syndicate. So I do think that WJV actually have a very smart angle here for the Aatrox. Victor being hovered, and this could be a Victor or a Galio top lane is possible, or maybe a Galio support is also on the cards here, Orbital.
This is... please don't rock a Victor top to me. I just don't want to see it, quite honestly. If you have your...
When was Victor top really popular again? It was like season 8 or something like that. There was a meta where it was like pick or ban. It was pretty bad.
It was... The problem in ADL is I've seen a top lane before. There was a team, I forgot what it was. They run Victor top just as a troll. At the same time, you gotta get messy.
There's the literal troll.
Yeah, the rule number 2 of League of Legends here, it's gonna get messy right now. Flash Syndicate, as we said, needs to pull something out, and they have given the reins over to the Singed.
That's a lot of magic damage, though, on the Flash Syndicates, I have to say. So I think an extra tank here by WJV could do absolute wonders. A champion that could easily go into something like a Hallowed Radiance, or just maybe even a Spirit Visage, or just straight up block the damage. That works too. But I will say, I think Braum plus Sejuani is oftentimes overkill because their passives, with the E and the passive from Braum, the E from Sejuani, the passive from Braum, that's a little, they sometimes have some anti-synergy. So I do think that WJV could mess that up at times, but if it works out, they all but guarantee that a pick comes through. And the CC train from Sejuani and Braum, I think, is enough to really allow this Ezreal and Mel to hit their shots. And if they hit their shots on this poke comp, then I do feel like this comp will definitely work out in their favor, but it is harder to execute. I will say that. This is not the usual team comps that we've seen from the other games. This is definitely more complicated. There are a lot more nooks and crannies. Positioning is a lot more important this time around because you can't just deathball, right? This isn't the deathball comp that we've seen in both games 1 and 2. And so WJV, making it a little harder for themselves, admittedly, but, so far the way this team has been playing, I trust them to pull out a comp like this and see it follow through.
I'd honestly also lean into the fact that if they deathball, they lose. Huge reason. Yeah. Singe wants you to deathball. Singe wants you to deathball. Literally. Victor wants you to deathball. Galio. Yeah. Varus even for the Chain of Corruption. So I will actually pause it though, because we've seen WJV actually lose out and struggle to maintain even stance in the early game. That's where I want to see it short up. We know they can rock the late game. We know the Ezreal and the Mel and the Aatrox will fly into the heavens if we reach 32, 33 minutes. But can they weather the early game, and can they not fall for rule number 2, which is don't chase the Singe? We are going into game number 3 with a couple spicy picks, as well as the Flash Syndicates playoffs hopes and dreams for a reverse sweep in the ADL. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Every time I close my eyes, a little less of you remains. I know you're slipping further from me now. Am I too far away?
3, time to shine. And one of those starring moments that we didn't touch on is the fact that Bento is running this Galio instead. It was an attempt to have a little bit of a surprise swap, having that flexibility, but it's going to be running in and hopefully taking down Blush and Panda, who have been on a warpath right now.
Yeah. Blush, especially, you know, being the sub of this team, coming in when his team needs him the most and just performing to an absolute, you know, demon level standard, in my opinion, you know, on the Lucian in particular, showing that aggression. But now we're going to have to see kind of a different shade of AD carry gameplay come out from him in game number 3. As I'm pretty sure Not Important just went for a Q onto his own mid laner.
There's always some question marks there, but it is going to be a safe play. And I love the fact that you talked about Blush on the Ezreal, because game 1, the whole reason I feel it turned on its head is because Panda and Blush played out of their minds. With the Ezreal specifically. Blush got out of so many sticky situations, was running roughshod over some of these team fights, consistently staying alive, especially with lethal tempo, just pumping out those autos. I'll be very curious to see if they can do it yet again, because Bento has a little bit more engage. But this top side, the one that we were watching for, Adaptable Ape on a Singed of all things, and is trying to actually get an early wave, which I'm not sure you're actually going to enjoy. You have to conquer stacks, but Rover's like, please, let's go for this. But you're chasing the Singed, and there are some problems. There's the Ghost, and I think Rover's just gone. Oh no, you did rule number 2. Rover, there ain't no getting away. That's first blood.
That is such a random time to engage there from Rover. He takes so much damage going for the chase. Rover, read the League of Legends manual. One of the first rules on one of the first pages is don't chase Singed, my friend.
It's even worse when you have no movement, but down on the bottom side, we're seeing a difference as Blush gets the kill as well. We were just talking about Blush and Panda. We were drawn away by the Singe, but now it's Blush and Panda to pick up that kill to start, and Bento kind of scratching their head about that one.
And Blush didn't even have to burn any summoners as well, so the Ezreal's ability to, you know, continue that train and continue being aggressive onto Lean is certainly still there. He's going to pop his pots, get to a relatively safe threshold of HP, and doesn't really have to respect the enemy 2v2. Can still get out, can still play around his support, and overall just really good timing there from WJV's bot lane. So manages to remedy some of the gold taken by Adaptable Ape on the other side, and doesn't really lose anything for it as well.
I mean, it's been such a interesting world to see right now. I mean, Blush and Panda still doing what they do, but at the same time, and I'm watching the top side, I mean, we've seen Rover have a little bit of struggle keeping it even so far, but never really been put down. And now you're down about a wave and 2 waves even. It's only going to continue. So if Rover doesn't start respecting this, we could see Adaptable Ape be able to start spreading their influence and maybe the honey trail as well throughout the rest of the lanes. Of course, bot side, we're seeing the junglers actually meet up Source Walker and Not Important completing their first clears, and now we get the jump in. Source Walker enters the lane first, and there is flash available for Bento and Lean, but Bento is going to try and turn it around. Triple taunt coming in here, and enough damage to go ahead and bring it on down. Blush is going to get taken out over the wall.
Oh, Bento's alive!
Ooh, what a catch by Bento on this Galio. Not Important cleans up the third.
And what a great counterattack coming out there from Not Important. He flashes to cover the distance, knowing that the fight is on a timer. And it's Lean that manages to get all the gold he could possibly want from that. WJV, though, I feel like going for that play super duper risky, right? You know that Not Important is likely on that bot side. The Nocturne is level 4, whereas you as Sejuani are only level 3. And Lean still has that flash. So you have to be respectful of the superior 3v3. They disrespect that. They fall. It's 4-1 in kills and a 2,000 gold lead befell Summoner's Rift at 4.5 minutes.
It's like a flashback to game 1. It's a horrendous flashback for Weakside jungle victims where you're back in that game 1 where you lose out in the early stages and things go wrong and you have to scramble from behind to kind of bring yourself back up. We did see a disconnect by Not Important. I guess they were a little bit too hype about the bot lane win that they maybe unplugged their router by accident, but we'll get them back into the game shortly, which again, for Not Important, this bodes well for them too. Game number 2, we saw them kind of shut down, and now on this Nocturne, once again, maybe given the opportunity to really exert their presence here in game 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like Flash Syndicate, you know, the biggest compliment that we've given this team all series long has been that they can scrap in the early game, right? Like, they have been very active around the neutrals, very, very good at controlling the river when they get the space to do so. And the skirmishing power of a lot of their comps relies on, you know, those first 10 to 15 minutes. And we're seeing it, you know, hand in hand come together in this third game, 4.5 minutes in. Sure, you know, it's only the first few minutes of this third match, but, you know, giving those kills over to the Varus, the reset, and just the tempo advantage for Not Important is going to be super nice on this Nocturne, getting closer and closer to level 6. So they should be able to snowball that ahead. And it's going to be up to WJV to do what they've always done, right? Which is to turtle until the mid to late game, group up as a team, and win from there. But as we said in the draft, you know, the team fighting power isn't really there for this comp to the degree that we've seen so far in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit more effort in there. And of course, their first mistake was, of course, having some rough bottom lane action. Flash Syndicate, though, happy to go back and spend their gold just in time for the upcoming objectives. We're right back in the game with Dragon spawning shortly. And that, of course, will be played out between WJV and Flash Syndicate. So far, I believe, first Dragons have gone almost explicitly to WJV's side, as Flash Syndicate have gone a little bit more in the importance of those grubs.
For sure. I mean, Flash Syndicate definitely have a way back into this series, being able to take their first win potentially, and it really does rely all on that bot lane. You can see Not Important is starting his path down there, has Tunneler in tow, and as well also keeping that flash after that exchange. So the Varus still has the ability to be super aggressive in lane along with that red buff. So I want to see them do just that, push in the wave, make plays with Not Important, get those objectives, and really limit the options that WJV can go for going into that mid to late game where they are proven to be the strongest.
Proven to be that strength and proven to be a little bit of a fight here as Terry joins in the mix. Epitome, though, realizing that they're not on the winning side of this, trying to walk away, throwing out those Qs as much as possible. And Epitome trying to get another route down. Terry flashing away now, and that's going to be the call to stop the fight. But Not Important says, I still want to turn it around. Everyone's taking low source. Walker walks away with a little bit of health. Varus with the piercing arrow is able to find that mark, so both junglers do fall. Now the resounding fight brings Blush to an even closer battle as you're just in the mix. I don't know what was going on. That's a double coming out for Lean, and that is yet again Flash Syndicate to find the team fight victory.
And a perfect time to do it as well. WJV are sent packing back to the base. The Dragon is up. The Grubs are up. Flash Syndicates really have the pick of the litter going into this exchange. Where do they want to put their gold going into this match? And it looks like the Dragon is going to be the answer. And I agree 100% with this orbital. Your team scales. You've got, you know, the Singe that'll be relevant later on. You've got the Victor that'll be very relevant later on. So getting the objective that plays into the later part of this match, definitely think that that is more valuable to have in your back pocket.
Not just that, early kills means a faster adaptation to possibly getting that magic penetration. We talk about the fact that there's triple AP on the side for Flash Syndicate. I wouldn't be surprised to see an early bloodletter. Heck, put it on adaptable. Adaptable is going to have a great time running through, having those extra ticks, and we keep talking about this item, but it's so good in a situation like this. So I'm curious if it'll be a pit stop instead of you know, having a full buy purchase because of the lead that you currently have. Dragon was thought to be picked up, though, as Not Important realizes that maybe don't want to force the top side, though. We are going to see that Ascension go down as World Ender just doesn't really bring much. Terry, though, on the other side is realizing that they're not in the right spot. That is going to be a little bit of a twist right now as Terry gets stunned up. In goes the execution, and Epitome swings down the hammer on Terry's head.
Terry, no flash available for the Victor, gets caught out by Source Walker. Really good turn by the Sejuani, but the wave has to be responded to as now the bot side might be in trouble.
Lean going to get exhausted, but the piercing arrow lands without any exhaust on, so Panda has to walk away here. And again, you're only level 5. Lean now hitting level 6. But again, the power that's coming out here, Lean is going for the on-hit build. Negatron plus a couple bows, and they're still outputting a crap ton of damage.
Yeah, so we are probably going to be seeing the Terminus, I believe, or no, the Wits End, yeah, complete here by Lean. I don't know why I thought of Terminus. So first item already unlocked here for Lean, 4-0-1 here on the 80 carry pick for Flash Syndicate. And despite getting that kill early on, earlier onto Terry, it's not going to net them an objective, and it's really not going to net them, any recourse in the path that this gold lead has taken so far. It's still Flash Syndicate very in control of the pace of this game.
Not just the pace, but maybe the mind control as well. As you can see, Adaptable 8 went ahead and proxied, drew Sourcewalker up, and you even got info that Sourcewalker was on top side, meaning you start taking this dragon. Now, granted, there is a ward inside, but there's no value. You're not going to be able to fight this one. It is an Ocean Soul, which is also the best first dragon to be able to pick up, get a little extra healing, get a little extra mana, and then you have Infernal right after. Flash Syndicate currently rule the map. The only thing that they don't have are the grubs, which Sourcewalker is willing to take as that kind of trade. Oh no, you don't even get that?
Yeah, I mean, Adaptable 8 has the ult, has the flash. The Singed is, and especially against this duo, right? I mean, Sourcewalker and Rover don't really have any damage. It's just the Caulfields picked up for Rover, and that is not nearly enough damage at the current moment. And so Flash Syndicate, they not only get the dragon, but they get 2 grubs as well. It's not the full encampment, but it certainly is just another pain point added on to WJV in this already extremely painful and torturous early game.
It's only gonna get worse. It's only gonna get worse, Quacks. You can see it here right now for Rover. Rover's like, I hate my life up here. I hate my life. You're down about 20 CS, and that hurts at 3.5 waves or so. It's gonna get even worse. The torture continues until morale either improves or just declines. I can't believe that stops recalls, man. The grounding is so annoying.
I mean, Rover, this game, we talked about how the Aatrox was really contingent on the proactivity of Sourcewalker early on, right?
Yep.
Like, you need to see a lot of attention being paid up toward that top side, and that's part of the reason why you draft someone like Ezreal. Hold on.
Oh, that's just a dive.
No.
Easy kill. Rover dropping, also burning the flash, as Flash Syndicate starting to make great use of this top lane win.
WJV trying to maybe force a play on the bot side as well. Sourcewalker is in the area, has the ult, maybe looking for Terry, but you can see Terry is respecting his hold on. Maybe the bot lane is disrespecting.
Oh, that's going to be a great stun, though, as Blush isn't able to bring more damage down on the Lean. But again, double stuns going in, arrow right back, but Blush and Panda still kind of swinging their weight around. Even though Lean was able to get that Wit's End, it's still Blush with a great action to take their HP bars down. Not important though, roaming around, doesn't have paranoia, but Sourcewalker checking the brush, realizes they're not in a great spot, tries to jump out, but unfortunately they get blocked, and now a TP coming in as well. All of a sudden, WJV might have overstepped their boundaries yet again. Lean with a great shot is now unstoppable. Epitome though, looking for that execution, gets a double. Epitome rising from the grave, from 0 to hero now, trying to save this bot lane as much as possible. Terry is gonna go down, and that's Epitome to get a triple.
And Epitome cosplaying lore accurate Mel Medarda here in game 3 comes up with a slam dunk on that ultimate, a triple kill for the mid laner of WJV, and suddenly when the game was looking its darkest orbital, the bringer of light, Mel herself, brings the heat, and they have a win con.
WinCon, keep Mel alive. Shut down the Singe. Stop the torture. Right now, you are going to get it. Sourcewalker's probably going to pick it up. No. Sourcewalker's going to pick it up here. That's going to be a tab. But you were hoping to give it to Rover. However, got to go back to it. Huge spike in gold. Epitome thrust into the spotlight. As we mentioned, game 1 did not look great. Late game was amazing. That's the thing now, though. Epitome now in the early game has that lead that is going to be matched by Lean side.
For sure, and I mean, look at all the gold that Mel has now, right? Not only do you have the Blackfire Torch, but look at the item comparison to Terry and then to Epitome, right?
Oh my gosh.
2,000 off of that triple kill. Absolutely insane. This is your win con, WJV, and really this game, you know, the result is going to be determined by how well they play around their mid laner, I feel.
And it goes right back to game 1 yet again, Quacks.
Yup.
WJV's late game team fight. It is quite literally that win con. What does Mel excel in? Team fights, being able to get those roots, being able to get that AoE damage down. It is still there. Chain of Corruption though going out here as the bot lane is yet again going to be denied and fought over. Flash Syndicate trying to jump down on Panda, and they do find another piercing arrow comes out, and it is going to be a death. No exhaust is going to be used. Flash though burned.
So a lot of tools used there by Flash Syndicates, but the result is a kill, like you said. Blush is completely unafraid. In a 1v2 situation, Sourcewalker is in the area and is going to be walking bot lane.
Oh,
from downtown.
Gets right by Benso, and yet Lean does have the Merc Treads available, meaning that Glacial doesn't do anything.
So, you know, Glacial down here for WJV. Flash Syndicates, though, used a bunch of ultimates as well, so not exactly going to be able to immediately punish the use of that Sejuani ult, but they have control of the river. But you know, you gotta keep your eyes on Epitome. That Mel is in the mid lane, doesn't have the flash available, so could be a target if he steps up. But the ultimate is there, the gold is there. And I feel like just the thought of that Mel joining up in this exchange is enough to, you know, cause Flash Syndicates to hesitate on this dragon, right? They don't want to go for a fight if it means Mel could continue to accelerate herself in this match.
Well, they got their moments to play around. Right now, Flash Syndicate's saying what we're going to play around is the upcoming grubs, denying yet some more, maybe even getting 4 or 5 of their own. And Sourcewalker pinging out this dragon instead. And it's going to be a weird little trade. Normally you see teams try and actively go for the same, but Flash Syndicate for their own saying, we got everything last time. We got the dragon plus majority share of the grubs. Now it's not going to count towards the feat. That, of course, will be laid up to rest, as I believe they only have the feat of warfare right now. Dragon grabbed by WJV as it's their first of the feats, so it'll be a contest later on either end. This is going to be dangerous as Flash Syndicate currently sitting on 2 out of 3.
I actually feel like it's a really good take here from WJV because it gives them time to breathe, right? I mean, it's only going to be second dragon if Flash Syndicates get the next one, and that doesn't exactly get the alarm bells ringing in your head if you are the Weakside jungle victim. So it gives them time to scale. It gives time for, you know, Blush to go more into side lanes, get farm up as this Ezreal. Same goes for Epitome and Rover as well on this Aatrox, who has been struggling so far in, you know, these 16 minutes of the third game. So it allows them to extend the timer a little bit longer to get those late game carries to where they need to be. And honestly, that's what you need right now. Time is of the essence here for the Weakside jungle victims, and they just bought themselves more by taking that dragon, I feel.
I felt it bought time for WJV, not for Rover specifically. Adaptable Ape is still being a giant pain in the backside. Now, granted, not a whole lot more deaths, but the CS numbers are scaling up. Rover has already identified that, yeah, I can't fight this. I just got a CS up. But it does lock in your position on the map. Sourcewalker, though, identifying that this is going to come down, immediately pings out. It's another fling, though, as that's going to be the Glacial Prison. And all of a sudden, Adaptable 8 trying to chase their way out. They do have Flash, though, so it looks like they're going to live. And Rover has to go right back to CS. Adaptable 8 being like, that's a win for me. See you later.
They get eyes on where the Sejuani is. Adaptable 8 only having to burn the Ghost and the Ultimate. And Ultimate on a very short cooldown, so really no real repercussions going to hit Flash Syndicate for the time being. And that is just, you know, what happens when you have a Fed Cinch. He draws so much pressure. He's able to proxy a lot of these waves and just pull a lot of attention off of other sides of the map.
Eyes are being drawn yet again as a flash over the wall, and Rover able to dash flash away. And this time that is the right call, as you didn't want to get rooted down. And we're watching right now Sourcewalker joined in on the top side, which again, we're seeing Terry roam up, but on the bot side, Sourcewalker trying to get some fun in. Epitome trying to roam out into the jungle side as well. And we're seeing everyone kind of play this juggle action. Everyone's trying to get a piece of their own, but that's an arcade shift forward. I don't think Blush actually wanted to be here. That is going to be an option as the paranoia goes down. They're going to dive. Exhaust goes down, but you are not safe from the flash from not important. And all of a sudden, it's like minute 6 all over again as Flash Syndicate just turn and chomp on WJV.
WJV looking to make the proactive play, but the Nocturne was in the area. The Paranoia slams it down, and more gold given over to the carries of Flash Syndicate. And this time around, it's not exactly going to be like by minute 6 here, Orbital. It is going to be even better. They get 2 kills, but they also get the turret. And so that is going to be feats of strength claimed for FS ahead of the Dragon as well, about 90 seconds away from that spawning. WJV, they still have Epitome fed in the mid lane, but it's starting to feel like everywhere else the walls are closing in.
And that squeezing sensation is only going to continue as we watch the minutes climb. Now, keep in mind, WJV, they might just be saying to themselves, hey, keep farming, and eventually we'll get to a good spot. Eventually, we'll reach those points. And again, games 1 and 2, they both reached late game. We got to get credit there. 34, 36 minutes, I believe, were both of them. And it lasted for a while. So you have some hope. Question, of course, is at what point in the game will it feel like you reach those sames? Because at this point, it feels more like you're going to have to hit 40 to 42 minutes if you want to have that strength inside. Once again, we're seeing Rover. This is, I'm still drawn back to the fact that Adaptable 8 currently has Rylai's and Leandri's, and is just burning a trail in everyone else's pockets. This is going to be rude once they join in on the team fight.
And he also has those upgraded boots, right? So hang on, Terry, maybe in trouble.
Fancy footwork right now. Execute can only do so much as you do get stunned underneath the tower, finally rooted out, but you're going to be able to trade. Oh my gosh, Terry, like, I will take that all day long.
Yep. Now maybe Rover in trouble.
I don't really think so. Really, I'm looking at that mid lane as that's gonna be another empowered arrow. Great sidestep from Panda, and you might be able to live. You do. Blush, though, still trying to step up. They arcane shifted into a taunt last time, but this time they keep their space. However, in that entire time frame, it was Rift Herald taken by Not Important, as Flash Syndicate are trying to pick up the pace of this game.
The Epitome gonna try and at least make it somewhat even on the bot side of the map. Will take this bot lane turret, but has to back out quickly. You can see all the members of Flash Syndicate gunning for the Mel. Not going to be able to find her, though. Instead, they're just going to turn right onto the Dragon. And this is what we talked about, Orbital. You know, this is only the second take of this neutral objective on the bot side for Flash Syndicates. And so the alarm bells not exactly sounding for WJV, you know, saying, oh my God, okay, we've got to start contesting these Dragons. We've got to start really going for this bot side objective, because it's not really that serious quite yet. They just have to continue to chill out and scale up in this game. But, you know, from where we were now to where we were 5 minutes ago, things have gotten worse for the side of Weakside Jungle Victims. Really, I mean, while Epitome has remained strong on this Mel, Blush has been continuously punished. Rover is still super far behind. Things are starting to slip away, and the alarm bells are starting to sound as now they might be blaring.
Your one carry, your one ray of hope is now getting danced on. Epitome falls with no other words in tow. Panda, trying to get some help over the wall, is able to leap, but that hurts. You mentioned that Blush and Panda are going down. Rover hasn't had fun. Sourcewalker for their own has also had troubles, and now Epitome, who held a majority share gold, goes down to the few champions that you really didn't want them to go down to. Adaptable Ape and Not Important. Once again, the two that can cause the most damage on the side lanes here. Sourcewalker having to hold on to this top lane.
For sure. I mean, it's looking rough here for the Weakside Jungle Victims. They're 4,000 gold down, a bunch of carries there on the Flash Syndicates in particular. I mean, Lean is so unbelievably strong. Now he has that experimental hex plate, so not only is he, you know, getting bonus attack stats, but he's also getting a lot of defensive bonuses too, getting a little bit more health, getting a little bit more armor, and overall just being tankier in a lot of these fights. And it was already difficult for WJV to get onto this backline. They don't have a ton of backline access, so it just continues to feel like the idea of them coming back is slowly slipping away as the game continues to get more and more volatile.
Let's get into that breakpoint. Flash Syndicate are starting to realize their own strengths here, which I feel like they should have recognized a while ago, and I think they have, of course. Get some of the upgraded boots coming in here. I believe Bento is the only one so far, but went straight for that Deadman's as well, making sure they get into the front line. And sure, we get to tag the opponent that you want right now. A little bit of Death Brush being utilized here. And again, Adaptable 8 just like, okay, there's some CC chains coming in here, and there it is. I was wondering if they had the damage, and they do. CC as well. Adaptable 8 down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power of having BFT plus the Leandries. You just burn through these health bars quite literally. If you are Mel, a crucial shutdown going toward the mid laner of the Weakside jungle victims, and no real response possible by the side of Flash Syndicate. I mean, not important. Does have that Herald. They've got 3 members in mid, but they're not going to go for anything in the mid lane. They're not going to go for a cross-map trade. They are instead just going to cut their losses and make sure that nothing else can be taken by WJV.
Well, especially right now with Dragon coming up in just about 2 minutes, this is a very important one. I mean, it's Infernal, right? You will, well, no, it's not Infernal, it's a Chemtech, but it's still Dragon that you want. So Flash Syndicate, as they start to kind of strangle out the jungle side, it's all for getting that soul point, something that they haven't gotten in any of the games thus far. They have never been in this position where they are leading by what, 4K? Last time I think game 1 was only 2.9 at one point. That was the highest goal lead that they ever had. So having this weight of about 4K in their hands, they want to make good use of it. Lean though, getting scared a little bit, uses the Chain of Corruption early. That's going to be down for the next about 40 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, so that's an ultimate burn there by Lean, like you said, maybe getting a little bit happy feet, happy on the trigger finger, but at the end of the day, not going to be consequential. That thing is already close to, half cooldown. So we'll be up for this Dragon in about 1 minute. This will be the first team fight that we've seen of this game, Orbital. We haven't really seen a fully fledged 5v5 by either of these guys in this third game. And, just based off of how ahead Flash Syndicate are, which you very, I would say, accurately highlighted just now, it feels like this is another Dragon that you ideally want to give up, but one that is incredibly risky to give up, because if you give this one up, you're staring down the barrel of a solo point team with scaling champions like Victor and Varus, who are still continuing that upwards trend.
And there aren't many options to get into those fights. Even Blush sitting at 1-3-3, still only 2 items, 2.5 compared to the 3 completed on Leans and Epitome. Barely gotten enough of those kills, but maybe you got the catch yet again. Terry is rooted, almost annihilated, and they are going to finish that kill. Not important, dives in, but it's a little bit
going on to Epitome.
Joins Adaptable 8, and they're going to try and run through, but the cluster is leading into WJV's hands as they're trying to melt through all the opponents. It is Adaptable 8, though, to get all of the burn, and they're going to just run through the opponents. There's no more burst damage to take away this Beekeeper, and the Keeper crushes the Hive and says, you are a bad colony. Triple for Adaptable Ape. Almost a penta, but not so close. It's an ace for Lean in the Flash Syndicate.
And the Flash Syndicates, their top laner, just running through everybody on the side of WJV. Terry goes down, but it does not matter. The 4v5 be damned. The other members of Flash Syndicates are just too damn strong. The ace comes through. A triple kill for Adaptable Ape. Solo point for the Flash Syndicates. And the game is looking bleak. Backs against the wall. And the Syndicates come up big when it matters most.
That is just the rally cry for the team. You mentioned first team fights before that started, and it has yielded results. Flash Syndicate now know that they have the gold. They had the dragons, they had the levels, and now they have the team fight. It is the last piece of the puzzle I think they've been waiting for this entire time, and it just took that moment to bring it about. Now WJV are in the disadvantageous spot. They are realizing they don't have the team fight. They have Burst, sure. They're able to get Terry, but that's only one. And at this point, Terry is not the one you have to be worried with. You need to be able to kill Terry or Lean without expending everything, or else Adaptable Ape is gonna run roughshot over you.
I mean, Adaptable Ape just feels literally indestructible in this game, right? It's so hard to kill the Singed as not hard to kill the Braum, but they're gonna try.
Well, you know, with only a Chaos Storm on top, it does make it a little bit easy. You have the Merc Treads and you do have the Locket once again for Panda, so they're able to kind of siphon through. But is there going to be more? Right now, Baron is available. Wards are down, but WJV really don't want to give this one over. But what can they really hold on to as Lean is pushing up this mid lane?
I mean, a lot of resources expended to try and go on to Panda. They don't find the kill, but you know, WJV aren't really in a position where they can respond, right? Like ordinarily when you burn all of these summoners, when you burn all of these ultimates to go for a target and it doesn't work out, it's then the other team's turn to try the same thing, but they can't even really try, right? They don't have the vision, they don't have the damage, most crucially, because like we've highlighted so many times and like we've talked about so many times, Blush is only at around 3 items. So this Ezreal really isn't relevant in the fight. The only relevant piece on WJV's side is this Mel, and that's a very easy target, I think, for Flash Syndicates to go for. As we saw in that last fight, all Adaptable Ape really had to do was walk at her, right?
It's gonna get worse, by the way. Dead Man's plus Force of Nature. This is gonna be so rude. This was essentially, again, when we called for a Hail Mary, this is the kind of Hail Mary that we wanted. This is Adaptable Ape going straight back to solo queue tactics. That's exactly what this is, and I love that it's working. I wish more teams did it. And it has to be recognized by WJV. If they do not win this game, which is very, very likely, I am assuming there's going to be a Singe ban coming out here as the team fight breaks out. Once again, not important. Diving straight into the back line. That is going to be a whip on the prison. However, not important. It's still alive here, catching the edge of that heroic entrance. WJV are still trying to run away. It is a 4v4 right now. Chaos Storm going to do bare amounts of damage. WJV successfully disengaged. Last Syndicate unable to find any kills, which is actually a win for WJV.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimates burned across the board. WJV live to tell the tale. They don't lose any members, like you said, but they don't get any members either. So it is still going to be Flash Syndicate in the driver's seat. And I would honestly say the biggest thing in that fight was that no flashes were burned by WJV, right? They still have those defensive tools going into this dragon. So 90 seconds from now, they'll be well equipped, they'll be prepared, and they could try to turn this game on its head. But this is their last chance, definitively. If they cannot win this fight, the game is going to escape them. They'll be too tanky. Flash Syndicate maybe found their mark.
I mean, Rover just hops over the wall. Panda does the same. Exhaust goes down on Terry, but Epitome can't get in. That means Rover has a 1v4 pretty much. You flash away. Paranoia goes down. And where is Blush? Blush is nowhere to be seen, which means Flash Syndicate melts through WJV. Even with the Adaptable Ape, Flash Syndicate have found their mark. Execution doesn't execute anyone. Blush is able to secure a shutdown, but it still gets routed. It's yet another H for Flash Syndicate as they definitively win that fight.
I mean, they found the pick onto Source Walker. WJV trying to defend their jungler, but it was all for naught. It's an ace for Flash Syndicate. The only member of that team going down will be their AD carry. And the Baron, the next target on the map here. And now the question kind of becomes, are Flash Syndicate going to reset, or are they going to try their luck at just going and ripping straight for that dragon? Because a reset here could provide an opportunity for WJV to get toward that bot side river. You can see Panda is already moving. The respawns from WJV are already starting to come on up. They have another chance to fight for this game and turn it around, but 10,000 gold staring at you in the face on the other side. The odds certainly are not in your favor.
Absolutely not, but we know WJV is able to team fight in the late game, and we've reached that 32-minute mark, so let's see some magic happen there. Level 17, level 14, sometimes enough to do some work, but it is all about what can you do with what you are given. WJV, they are posturing around this dragon, but they're giving a lot of time over to Lean, who is just hard committing towards this mid lane. And again, for FS, they don't care about the dragon. They can give this one up. They're the ones on soul point. So it is going to be a rout. Flash Syndicate now are looking to commit towards this mid lane. Lean's still going. Lean's still pushing. Source Walker instead turns on the opposite side. They're going to fight in the mid lane, and I wonder how much they're going to give up right now. That is going to be the heroic entrance to save. Not important. There's still no real damage to come around.
base.
Now goes inside. It's going to be over. It's going to be Flash Syndicate routing the entirety of WJV. Rover finally enters the fray, but it's a little too late. Terry melting their lives. Everyone burning down Flash Syndicate. Ace, Weakside jungle victims without their main carry Lean taking the base.
Lean has just been pushing the entire time on this Varus Weakside jungle victims. Their first loss of the series. Flash Syndicate backs against the wall. They start fighting. And ladies and gentlemen, can you see the start of a potential reverse sweep?
If they can't, I can. Flash Syndicate, my God. We meant the early game has been so good for them. We mentioned that game one quite nearly could have been this game three tactics. They were up multiple kills. They were up in a couple of the global objectives, and yet it just kind of fell apart at the very end. It was some of those micro mechanics of Blush that really stood out. Here in game three, they shut that right down. One, they shut down Rover on the top side, draw a lot of attention, Source Walker drawn away, and then bot lane. What happened? All of a sudden, the junglers really ramped it up, and you could see here, Blue side strength almost never gave up that gold lead.
It just kind of felt like everywhere was rough, right? And even in the locations of the map where it was, you know, potentially somewhat all right for the side of Weakside jungle victims, it just straight up wasn't enough, right? Like we saw Epitome get that early triple kill onto the Mel, but you know, WJV were never able to accelerate the Mel, right? Never able to really look for another pick. They momentarily got the Mel back into the game with the shutdown onto Adaptable Ape, but that wasn't enough either. You could see the Varus was constantly getting kills. Adaptable Ape on this Singe was an absolute menace, and the Victor was allowed to free scale and eventually outdamage the Mel. So it really feels like, you know, Weakside jungle victims, they tried something different with this draft and it blew up in their face. I think in game number 4, we're going to see a return back to what they know, because this cook on the Aatrox burned down the kitchen a little bit, and I don't think they're going to try that food again.
Okay, listen, was it because of the Aatrox or was it because of the Singe? And I'm leaning more towards the Singe. That was
I think it was
perfect.
Because of the Aatrox.
Okay. Well, we'll lean into that as well, because I agree. The Aatrox didn't look great, but the Singe was a great counter pick. We have to give credit there. Adaptable Ape really showing up here. We'll see if they can do it yet again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to a game number 4. The Aegis Defenders League will continue here in the quarterfinals matchup, as right now we are still looking at series point for the side of Weakside jungle victims, but we're going to a game 4, so we'll see you in just a bit. Time to see how the game plays out as WJV are back on the blue side. This is to be expected. Again, blue side holds a lot, but that also shakes up the bans a little bit. Aurora still banned away, and Flash, Syndicate. I don't think you're going to be able to pull out that Singe once again, or maybe you do if we do see the Aatrox. Again, depending on what WJV think, that could be the problem. And they actually identify the Nocturne as the main source of issues.
I mean, the Nocturne was definitely very proactive in, in that third game, but I do definitely agree with you, Orbital. I think if we don't see the Singe picked up, it's probably because we're going to be seeing the Singed banned this time around. It was a really good response by Adaptable Ape to really throw this game for a loop. And I do think that WJV, even they have to respect that one. So they are going to ban it away. Last ban now here for Flash Syndicate is likely going to be that Gwen. It looks like that'll be locked on in one of the strongest champions on the current patch. Now, WJV, they have a choice here, right? They could go back to what they were doing last game, which is, going for a bit more of a poke-esque comp, or they can do what was working in games 1 and 2 and just go for straight up death ball, and without hesitation, they choose the latter and lock in the Jarvan.
I would agree with that, but of course, Flash Syndicate are going to steal away something that Blush has used to great efficiency. Now, game 3 looked a little bit more hazardous, but the Ezreal was still doing what the Ezreal could, and Flash Syndicate trying to lock down that bot lane, recognizing that the sub coming in here needs to be stopped. Now, if you're going to stop Blush, you also probably need to stop Panda, but that's a whole story in its own. Ezreal is now locked in for Flash Syndicate for Lean to try and utilize.
Yeah, so now the question is, what do you pair up with this Ezreal? We're probably going to see a jungle response come through here by Flash Syndicate, though, at first. So maybe something like a Xin Zhao could work. Another fighter that you really want to, match up with in proactivity in that early game. Yeah, still really strong on the patch, can match him in that early game, and most importantly, can create space for this Ezreal to poke out with that Crescent Guard. So I like the, plan coming out here from the Flash Syndicates, and WJV this time around probably going to be, looking toward that bot lane, giving
do it.
I mean, hey, we said return back to what worked, and they are doing that all the way around. Lucian Nami, it made miracles happen in game 2, and who knows, maybe it can take it home here in game 4, Orbital.
I love it. I love this fact so much that we are being gifted this site once again. WJV, as you said, take pieces of what works, toss them together, see if you can make a winning recipe. For Flash Syndicate, it's still pull out a few new. Now, of course, Not Important has run the Xin Zhao back in game number 2. This will be a first-time Ezreal, I believe, for Lean. But the Karma, vastly different for Bento. Bento so far has played the Alistar, has played I believe it was a Galio, and it was just it was a plethora in there. There were some differences. I'm curious to see how they do on the Karma now as we get to see those top lane bans come out, the Urgot and the Camille, and then the Respect Galio ban.
Yeah. And I do wonder if Weakside jungle victims are going to ban something away like an Ornn, right? I mean, we're looking at the scaling particularly here from the Flash Syndicates, and I think the ornaments could provide a lot of value while also sort of sterilizing the top lane and not necessarily making it a focus for either team at the end of the day. But I don't think we're going to be seeing an Ornn picked on 4. It's probably more than likely going to be just a mid lane or something that can create the space for the Ezreal, like what the Xin Zhao and the Karma have already started doing. Or it could give them another win condition, right? Syndra has been really popular in the mid lane. A lot of those control mages are what you like to see. So Orianna could also be a possibility. Just something that provides, I would say, connective tissue to your jungle and your AD carry pick.
Oh, and this might be it. Okay, so Syndra grabbed up by Terry, who again has historically done fairly well in that mid lane. The only game that we saw out of the turn was Epitome, which was a roam bot lane. So taking a little bit of a control farmer in the mid lane, you grab that Syndra, do it. Yes. Once again in the ADL, for some reason in pocket situations, Xerath decides to rear its head, and because it's blind, you go ahead and do the Ornn. This is going to be Rover put on the back burner, and Epitome, you better be hitting those lightning blasts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of pressure on Epitome to be that secondary carry along with the Lucian and the Ornn providing that late game value that we said it would. Now, Flash Syndicates, what are you going to pick in order to counter this Ornn? Are you going to play into the wet noodle fight and pick a tank? Or are you going to draw some attention toward that top side and, make a win condition, toward that side of the map? And it looks like the latter is what's going to happen. The set is going to be locked in. And Orbital, a lot of people like to say that this is a set winning matchup, but I feel like this is kind of a scaling, like this is a skill matchup, right? Because Ornn can use that unstoppable on his W to dodge out on the face breaker and, you know, negate a lot of that CC. He can even use it on the showstopper and completely avoid the ultimate altogether. There's a lot of skill expression in this matchup, and so I don't think we're going to be seeing a wet noodle fight in the top lane. Instead, I think we are actually going to be seeing something more akin to like a scrap, which is going to be exciting, as I think all three of these lanes you could realistically see for both sides being carries. And I think for a game that could very well be our last or take us to game 5, that's exactly what we want here going into the playoffs.
Oh, I want to see so much action to go down in that top side, but also in that jungle role. I want to see what Sourcewalker and Not Important had to bring to the table. And lastly, I want to see Epitome try and show up like they did in game 3. I want to see a match to help out the Lucian. Not only that, again, Blush and Panda used to great efficiency down on the bot side. And then I want to see Flash Syndicate mess all of that up. We are taking a look right now at ADL quarterfinals matchup with Flash Syndicate, hoping to take down yet another Titan in that top division. They took down another almost first seed in the previous matchup in the round of 12, and maybe they take down a first seed here. We are going to go to a very short break. The ADL will be right back with game number 4 live for your viewing pleasure. Back on the Blues side for WJV and Flash Syndicate with a little bit of a cheeky change-up. Adaptable 8 with the set in the top lane. But WJV hoping to make some marks and maybe some burn marks on the ground as epitome on the Xerath, an ADL special at this point.
I mean, Xerath just is so irrationally picked in. It's so weird how he's picked in basically every series that we cast Orbital, because by all accounts, I mean, this champion isn't like the strongest at what it does, right? I mean, it's a poke mage, but then you consider other options, things like the Hui, right? Things like the Syndra, things that, you know, have a lot more utility than Xerath are available options, but it always goes back to Xerath. It's such a weird thing that the ADL has going for it, but it's gonna have to be a thing this time around that works, because this is the game that WJV, I would say, aren't necessarily, you know, they won't be as worried in this game as they would be if this goes to game 5, right? So they really want to close this one out before the 5-game nerves start to hold on to them by the throat. So we're looking particularly at a lot of proactivity around that bot lane and the jungle, I would say.
I'm so happy you pointed out that bot lane, because the bot lane has been instrumental in either team's wins. Game number 1, it was Flash Syndicate trying to utilize that paranoia to drop down towards that bottom lane, and then all of a sudden it was on the other side. It was Source Walker trying to join in on that bottom lane. Both junglers in their respective games were annihilated with their engagements. They were not having a good time, so it really is going to hammer in. This bot lane will have eyes, whether we like it or not, in about, you know, a minute and a half once that jungle route reaches the lanes. But Blush and Panda getting their Lucian Nami might breathe a little bit more life in, as level 2 is hit, and you know what they're going to do.
And not important, curiously enough, skipping over his Krugs and Raptors, immediately going toward that bot lane as the Xin Zhao. So the importance in the bot lane, we talked about it, and it seems like the Xin Zhao is very aware of it and is pathing in accordance with the volatility of this 2v2, and will, you know, once he takes this grump, hit that level 3 and should have the ability to make a splash in the bot lane. I mean, you can see Blush and Panda already pushing down in that lane, but putting a ward in the Tribush, so should be easily avoided. It's all just a matter of how Flash Syndicates play and if they can, you know, buy the space for Xin Zhao to make the gank happen.
I mean, the fact that no matter which way you go for the Xin Zhao, you're going to be spotted out. I want to point that out. That's a huge warding pattern for WJV. So immediately it's spotted out. Whether you go from enemy side jungle, whether you go from your top or through the try, it's identified. Not important though. There's the ward, and Source Walker immediately sees it. Now they're taking their turn. I don't know what Not Important's doing. Not Important just kind of stood there, and unfortunately you're now routed. But Panda is about to get out, but a nice double bubble means you are safe. Not Important trying to run the lean, going ahead for the flash. Now Blush is in a dangerous spot. Panda trying to rejoin in this fight, throws out a tidal wave, but it bounces in the wrong direction. Blush in a weird position. Another bubble lands, but it's the root that's going to cause problems. Now Bento's in the wrong spot. Cacophony of errors in one of the worst ways for Flash Syndicate, as Source Walker messes up and tries to go for the damage, and instead everyone gets out. That's gonna be first one for Blush as they fight forward. They still live. They live through all of it. Source Walker full HP is gonna stab underneath the tower, but in the mess, in the absolute chaos, in the brain-altering weirdness, WJV come out with first blood.
I mean, Source Walker kind of messed up, but Blush showed up. He clutched up in that exchange. He gets the kill. Lean goes down. Both summoners burned by both AD carries as well. 4 summoners actually burned by those bot lanes. So a return to the 2v2 lane likely imminent for both of these junglers, but it is a victory by the Weakside jungle victims for the time being. It's especially a feels bad man moment for Not Important, who only took 3 camps, immediately has to back and can get only a long sword. So the Xin Zhao so far really low economy in the first 4.5 minutes.
It's also a kind of PTSD side. You played in game number 2 and didn't have that great effectiveness, is why I was kind of scratching my head when we saw it. I know it was called out, and you rightly called that it is a good pick for the comp, but Not Important. I don't feel you want to be relegated to this kind of a defensive position, this defensive Xin Zhao. As again, a little bit of a struggle there, waiting to see if anything changes, but so far they're still on the map for the moment. Blush and Panda right now, though, with that win, has granted a pickaxe, and it's a huge boom. Blush in game 3 didn't feel so great, and now you're right back in that driver's seat of, I can alter this game, and as a sub, that is huge to exert your dominance, your presence here in the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Not Important needs to make sure that his tempo is kept up relatively nicely and that Xin Zhao does have the gold, and so far he doesn't have either of those things. He will have an opportunity here. You can see him moving down toward the bot side, but the bush ward placed there by Panda makes it very difficult for a flashless Xin Zhao to really make an impact without, you know, Blush or Panda potentially messing up along the way.
And I think a big part of that is Blush and Panda aren't willing to go for the extended trades. This is different than what we saw before, you know, the hard snowball. Nami and Lucian could get in, quick couple autos. That's their whole kit. They don't want to be in auto attack range. So Blush and Panda are basically playing around this timing and window. Not Important has to kind of read that. It's like reading the notes in between in a symphony or anything like that. Because of all that difference, Not Important has to go back because you're off timer. You have granted movement for Source Walker, who is now gathering up this first dragon with almost no contest.
Yeah, he doesn't know it, but Not Important is recalling after taking that Grom. So this is actually a very well-timed objective take by the Weakside jungle victims. Not Important, though, does have the opportunity to go for those grubs. Source Walker, plenty healthy. I wonder if he is either going to look for an aggressive dive onto the bot lane, or if he is maybe going to look to contest those grubs. It looks like he's going to go for the first option, and you can see Epitome is in the area, ultimate in tow, but no wave here.
There isn't, but the thing is, they're bringing in some more of their own. Bubble doesn't land, though, and I think Source Walker said, okay, we don't want to deal with that one. Epitome couldn't land any of the Arcane Barrages either. So Lean and Bento actually get away with a lot right there. They don't burn that barrier on Lean. They don't burn, I think the heal's coming off cooldown right now. But the fact that they didn't get dove and they lost 0 HP feels great.
For sure. Really, really good, you know, safety coming out there from the Flash Syndicate's bot lane, and it provides enough of an opportunity for those grubs to go the way of Not Important in Flash Syndicates. Now, though, Adaptable Ape may be in trouble, but you do not want to mess with a set like this. Source Walker rightfully paying respects to the top laner of Flash Syndicates.
It was a really funny spot to be in, by the way. It's just seeing where Adaptable Ape was like, all right, that's not cool of you, but it happened either way. We're seeing a little bit of a chance. Rover now getting caught out here, doesn't have the buffer, has to burn the flash. And so again, respect paid in another way to Adaptable Ape from WJV.
Doesn't want to get flash suplexed back to Not Important and then put himself in a compromising spot, so just chooses to make the first move. Good play there by the Ornn, and it's an objective trade across the, you know, map, and it is a little bit delayed in the case of Flash Syndicates, but they still are very well in this game, only about half a thousand gold behind, and a lot of that gold, I would say, resting on both the AD carry and the jungle. Jarvan significantly up in CS compared to the Xin Zhao, and Blush with that extra kill, really just bullying around Lean and Bento, you know, taking control of a lot of these waves.
I think a big part of the fact that you do see Not Important up on the top side is Blush is more than willing to jump in with that culling, by the way. It's used as a scare tactic. Even so, you talked about bullying. Well, when you can bully with your ultimate in tow, it's a wild stance to have. So Blush is very happy about this moment. Mid lane, we've been seeing trades back and forth. It's been fairly net even on either end, which I think bodes well for Epitome, which we haven't really talked about. So WJV at the current moment, playing a pace that I think they are comfortable with for the time being. Now, is that, and should that be the mainstay? I don't think so. Another bubble lands, though, as Blush is out of mana, but in comes Arcane Barrage, and it's so easy. Lands the fourth as Epitome takes that one, and Bento now getting leaped on. There is no extra advantage as Panda will flash away. Blush claims a kill, and it's 2 perfectly for WJV.
And really, really good juggling of the tower aggro there from WJV, and great reactiveness from Epitome as well, you know, coming in with the assist on that Arcane Barrage, manages to score himself a kill as well. So the sort of division of gold amongst the carries of WJV is perfect. The dive is perfect. They get everything they could want and then some. And Flash Syndicates, they lose out in that trade and really have no way to respond. They lost their bot lane. Not important, can't really look for any play on the top side as he is also on the bot side. So it's great snap decision making and overall continuing to accelerate this Lucian, who now has that Essence Reaver as well.
And not just that, I want to talk about the fact that Epitome was able to pick up a little extra in there. This is one of those moments as a mid laner, I come from the mid lane main aspect, where you as the opponent, as Terry, is just like, I hate this. I hate the fact that I can't leave lane, and yet you can affect lane from what? Inside river? It's so annoying, and it's so frustrating. And now, will it make the most impact in the world? Probably not with just one kill, but it's enough, and that's why Not Important is currently climbing down to the bot side to try and shut this down expeditiously, walking through but doesn't realize they walked on top of a ward. So Blush and Panda are playing at a very respectable distance.
I'm wondering though if maybe they want to play with fire a little bit. Blush has flash, so if they can delay the back from the Xin Zhao, then maybe they can give time over to Source Walker and
they did it again.
Create space on the top side, gain control of the top side river, and maybe make a play in mid.
That's a good flash out, but that's all you wanted. Source Walker burning the ult, and
my God,
Not Important is still down here. There had to be a recognition point where you're like, oh dang, I was spotted out. There is a reason why they're dancing so well, and you're finally moving out. Now keep in mind, Terry doesn't have flash. It's a two-piece combo. That is the most brutal execution of mid lane I have seen in a moment. Source Walker now getting a chance as Bento doesn't have flash, and that's going to be an easy hook and drag. It is going to be the catch on Bento. Source Walker is still going to live. Two shots from Rob is not going to land enough, and Source Walker lives with one. WJV, after games 1 through 3, lean forward in their gamer chairs and are showing why they are placed first.
Yeah, I mean, Source Walker was the source of the start of that fight. He goes on in knowing his team has his back, and he threads the needle, lives with 1 HP, but they get the dragon, so now they should be able to reset and maybe even look for these grubs. There isn't really a foothold that's established here by the Flash Syndicates enough where they can really say, all right, let's go for these grubs, let's threaten that objective. So this is the opportunity for WJV to really put the nail in the coffin as far as neutrals go for the early game. And if they even secure one, I feel like it's immense value going over to them. And they certainly are doing, it seems, just that. They have committed their bot lane to the mid lane, their mid laner to the top lane. They have a numbers advantage, and they're a lot stronger as well.
On top of that, they've started to route around the one play that we talked about before. Adaptable 8. You are staying away from this set that can cause so many problems to you. Staying away from this set that can cause a massive change in a team fight with a single showstopper. You are ensuring that Adaptable 8 cannot have the type of premier access to the gold, to the damage that they had in game number 3. Now, are you giving up gold a little bit? Yeah, but it's not at the rate that we saw last time. And because of that, WJV are able to easily collect the other 3 grubs, go ahead and collect the feats, and gather their hard-earned boots. Terry might be in response, jumped on here because they still don't have flash. It's an easy dive. This is what happens. We see it on Victor's and now on Syndra's. Epitome on a gifted killing spree.
I mean, yeah, Epitome coming up big here in this game. 3-0-1 on the Xerath. Now the mid lane is wide open for the time being. Adaptable Ape is, maybe going to run interference, but really just feels like WJV, they took that loss in game 3 personally, Orbital, and they're playing as if it was personal. You can see just the night and day difference from the proactivity, particularly from Source Walker on this Jarvan, just making plays happen, punishing flashless champions, and constantly putting this game in a position where they can continue to accelerate it.
Not only that, they've accelerated our mindsets of how they play. WJV have turned around not only their pacing and their overall gameplay from game 3, but of the series as a whole. WJV, Weakside Jungle Victims, their early game has been a struggle from game 1 to game 3. It was narrow, it was at a loss. This time around, 2K that can not be disputed. They are in the lead. They have control of the map. This is the best start WJV have had to a game in this series alone.
Sure. I mean,
Rover off top. Okay, I was wondering what the call was going to be. Rover's like, I want out. Let me ult real quick.
he's just trying to clear the wave, I think, and prevent,
Yeah.
you know, potentially the possibility of getting dove. And the possibility is going to not be available. And the next thing realistically to look at is turrets, and both teams are actually quite even in turrets. Adaptable Ape, for all the stuff that we've said about the set not really being able to get ahead, he got a ton of plates in the laning phase, and so as a result is still very strong in this game. Level 11, whereas almost everybody except Epitome is level 10 or below, so definitely don't want to disrespect that top pick yet, but it is starting to run on empty. That much is certain. If it doesn't get, you know, a snowball lead in the next few minutes, it could start to seriously get outscaled and most importantly outranged.
The scary part as well, it's a horrible feeling as a top laner when you can't even get in range of the opponents. I mean, Adaptable Ape we mentioned was able to get in range with the Singe. I mean, Boots of Swiftness was powering through a lot of these points, but this time around a little bit slower off the beat. Lean in Bento, though, being granted a chance at first tower. They were able to find it thanks to unfortunate Rover, who couldn't really hold the tower. So go ahead and get at least that side of the gold for your pocket. Not important now, able to get the scuttle as Dragon will be up in 2 minutes. Rover, though, full HP and a lot of extra damage. Lean's like, I hate tanks. That's all you can say as an ADC right there.
And Epitome just laying down the hurt onto Adaptable Ape, but this is a cannon wave, so yes, that's just gonna walk up.
Epitome realizes what could have happened and smartly backs away from the very angry Adaptable, who hasn't been allowed to really play in a 1v1 situation.
No, absolutely not. And that's exactly what WJV wanted, right? They wanted to make sure that the set wasn't able to make use of that early game snowball like he did on the Singed in game number 3. And this kind of strategy of just ignoring is seeming like it's working so far, as Flash Syndicates have yet to pick up a kill. They've got a couple of objectives in their back pocket, but they haven't really been able to make use of those in an effective way that has put WJV behind. And now we're staring down 1 minute until third Dragon, potential soul point on the line for Weakside Jungle Victims, and they want to be the first to make a play.
In comes Arcane Barrage yet again, and that Cataclysm works wonders to section out Adaptable Ape. No deaths go down, but a Scatter the Weak stalls out the rest of the fight. And again, they don't want to overcommit, which I agree with. Flash Syndicate go ahead and back away for the moment, but they lost a TP from Terry. They lost a flash out of not important, and most importantly, they lost Adaptable Ape's flash for engage. TP coming in here is going to go through either way. That's one of the great changes. And Adaptable Ape is ready for round 2, but I don't know how close he's going to get to the fight.
But I mean, most importantly, WJV burned every single one of their ultimates. They don't have those R-keys for this fight, so they might be fighting at a disadvantage.
Oh, great out though. Rover for their own, trying to play a little bit off to the edge as well. And as you rightly called, no ultimates in their bank. But for WJV, you're backing away ever so slowly. This Dragon, it's a mountain. You're not overly worried about it. And it looks like you are going to give it up. However, maybe you're routing around. You're just clearing this way for now. Dragon just hit the rift.
I mean, I feel like you should just go for the Rift Herald. No, you can go for a cross-map play. It's a lot less risky.
Oh my gosh.
You don't, lose a lot for giving up Dragon, but they're going for the fight. They're saying, screw it, we ball. They're going forward, but those ultimates, I mean, they're starting to come up here. Look, the culling is almost down, available.
Uh-oh. That's going to be a great Arcane Barrage, and that's going to be a knockup into Adaptable. Adaptable is down. That's the fight you want yet again. WJV proved they will take the fight over anything. And then a fight straight onto Terry's life. No chance to flash. It's a triple for Blush. The sub running rampant. You want your Quadra, and you will get it. That is the Lucian Quadra to put a stop to that fight. WJV, convincing team fight.
And Adaptable Ape was trying his best to lay down the damage, but the moment that Haymaker goes down, the defenses from that set are completely and utterly spent. They take down the top laner of Flash Syndicates first. They move forward as Blush, the sub that you rightfully called out there, Orbital, wreaks absolute havoc on his opponents. It's going to be not just the Dragon and the Soul Point, but the TP from Epitome. They will get themselves a top turret, and it doesn't even stop there, Orbital.
They clear the rest of the freestanding gold now. The only thing that felt for Flash Syndicates that they had in the lead were the towers originally. They had 2-0. They were, hey, 1,000 gold behind. And now that's gone. 5K in the bank. Rover might pay the price, but I mean, he's a conductor. He's got the train maybe to chase them out. For the moment, though, yeah, Adaptable Ape can't follow up because of the collapse. And I have to give credit. Blush and Panda played amazing. Epitome is doing their job as the living artillery, making sure that you are in a safe spot to ult. It's damage. It might not look great, but it's enough to turn the tides.
Yeah. And speaking of tides,
wow,
one goes wide.
That was okay. That was ambitious, but I like it. Still landing about, I believe that was 4 out of the 5 shots onto Bento. They were a Hail Mary, if you will.
Bit of a Hail Mary, but I mean, fishing for a kill, I think is the right move here by WJV. They want to go for that Herald. I feel like that Herald is just easy pickings and they should just immediately turn onto it. Yeah, they're going to do that. At this point, it feels like the objectives are a God-given right over to Weakside Jungle Victims. They're so far ahead in this game. You know, FS don't really have their carry. Adaptable Ape set is on the other side of the map, so they can take what they want to take, be where they want to be, and Flash Syndicate. It's tough to see a way they can get back in this game, which is so demoralizing. So hang on, maybe this might be it.
I mean, they couldn't even find Panda or Blutch. Again, the most mobile duel out there. And now the break fight is coming out. Blutch doesn't care about the backline. Completely zones out Bento and all. Yet again, another double kill. Bring him the triple, and he will get it. 7 kills total in the last about 4 minutes. 9-0-3 for Blush.
And Blush is just going on an absolute terror in this game. Yet again, the Lucian allowed to free hit. It's 3 lost for the side of the Flash Syndicates as the Arcane Barrage. Epitome is going to try and make that 4, but not going to be able to land those skill shots enough to make the difference. But it doesn't matter. The Otacon is claimed by WJV. Flash Syndicates, the game is in a dire state. 6,000 gold difference. Rover as well, getting closer and closer to that point where he can start upgrading his teammates' items. And that is just going to accelerate the gold even further. It might not say it, but those ornaments are worth a lot of gold.
I mean, you top out with the fact that we are sitting at a 6.5k lead for WJV. You add on each of the ornaments, it's about 1,000 gold each. And then on top of that, you have the boot upgrades as well. WJV, the gold will lie. It will lie incredibly well to you. Whoever's watching this, I'm sure plenty of you are, of course. This is one of the greatest leads without looking at the gold. WJV have the map, they have the towers, they have the dragons. Quite literally, they have everything that they could possibly want. At this point, they are on a choose your own adventure book.
Absolutely. WJV, they got a little bit of a scare in the 3rd game, but they managed to reel themselves back in emotionally as Bento gets reeled back to the fountain. Look at that damage, Orbital. Admire it, because we're not going to be able to do so for much longer as this game is in its closing act. The story for WJV likely to continue going in to the semifinals.
The Herald is down. The greatest base breaking tool out there gets a charge off. That is gonna drop that tower down just above 1/3, so is gonna regen up if given the opportunity. But guess what, Quacks? Guess what we're going to see in 10 seconds? The dragon will be alive.
Dragon will be alive, and that is gonna be soul for the Weakside Jungle Victims. Flash Syndicate, I mean, hey man, you're 7,000 gold down, and this might be your last game of the season. You got to go, I would say, down with a bang.
Yep.
If they did that, I would really respect it, but it looks like they are just going to turtle for the time being, look for more opportunities, but how many more of those are realistically going to come your way, I feel? It's the big question on my mind.
I would say 1 to 1.5. And if you're asking me how I got a half, I don't know either at this point. WJV claim the Mountain Soul. They get extra shielding in there against a Syndra, against an Ezreal, against a showstopper coming in from Adaptable Ape. They have the shielding to not only keep Rover, Sourcewalker alive. they now get to have their squishies get extra survivability. It's just the icing on top of the cake. WJV, I really hope they don't drag it out to 32 minutes because it feels like they can end it within the next 3.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Elder would be like, if you were to get this game to a 50-50 Elder as WJV, then I would have some questions about how you I mean, Baron is up in about a minute. That should be, I would say, enough for you to force a fight and just look to get this game to its ending stages. I love what we're seeing, actually, from Epitome on the other side. He's pushing out that top wave in preparation for the Baron. Rover might just straight up look for a solo kill, but is actually going to pay some respects. That will be the right choice. As you can see, Adaptable Ape just trying to get a kill on this set, trying to get a kill for his team. They still have yet to get a kill here, Orbital.
It's been a total lockout again because Source Walker is now running interference. You drop the Cataclysm down on Bento. Source Walker waiting for the rest of the team, but it's not really there. Max range Arcane Barrage is going to run the rest of FS out of their own mid lane. And it's just dire straits right now as Blush and Panda are the guardians of Source Walker, and WJV control the top side of the map.
And they burn a bunch of summoners, and they don't burn any summoners. Weakside jungle victims now have a lot easier of a time making sure that this, Baron that just spawned is not really going to be a 50-50. Not important, can't, sort of flash over the wall, get a crazy smite, because he burned that flash to save his life the last time. So really good force, I would say, to just get some tools away from FS that could potentially interfere with the Baron being taken in the future.
Well, you know what could really interfere with taking the Baron in the future is FS's lives. This is looking very dangerous in my opinion. Rover in a 1v1, and yet Lean is like, I'm doing peanut damage right now. Does have the Triforce and does have the man immune, so you can see Rover losing some HP, but not enough at this point. So not important, tries to roam over, but it draws so much attention, which is going to allow Blush and Panda to break open that top side of the map. Rover is quite literally a red herring at this point. Level 15 does not care. Tower is broken, and now Adaptable Ape is just gonna try and get revenge. This brawl, though, is not the one that you want to take. A Source Walker is always in range to be an absolute pain in the backside. Arcane Barrage yet again, and Adaptable Ape is sniped by Epitome. Unstoppable is the train and pain that WJV are bringing. A flash stun into Terry's life as Blush is now legendary. 10-0-4. The unkillable sub rises to the spotlight as Weakside jungle victims claim game 1, they claim game 2, they sway at game 3, but they move their way on from the quarterfinals and take one step closer to the ADL championship.
And Blush, take a bow, my friend. This game, this series was so dominant in the AD carry position, and this last game just kind of felt like an encore for him. This was perfect down to the wire. AD carry gameplay, immaculate on the side of the Weakside jungle victims. And these guys, Orbital, I have to say it, we didn't cover them at all in the regular season, but this is one of the strongest teams in the playoffs. These guys dominated their division in the regular season. They have barely dropped any games, and it's honestly a crime that only now in the quarterfinals of the playoffs we are getting our first look at a team that could very well take it all.
Only matched by one other team, True-Minded Gaming Death Knights, the only other undefeated squad from the regular season. And yet you look at this team with a sub outputting 21,000 damage there on a specialty Lucian at this point. And props to Panda as well. Amazing Nami gameplay in there. That gold chart says it all. And shout out to Flash Syndicate. They played one heck of a game 3. They brought us to a mindbender. They brought out the Singe. But again, going up against Kings, the underdogs, they're underdogs for a reason. So shout out to them. Overall, though, I mean, Quacks, this series, as you said, criminal that we didn't cover them before. Now we get another chance to. Moving on to the semifinals, possibly even into the grands. I want to ask you here, I feel like you already know because my vote's there as well. Who do you think is this series MVP?
I gotta give it over to the sub, right? It's only right that Blush gets it because this man, we might not see him. I mean, we're definitely going to probably see Weakside Jungle Victims in the, couple of weeks remaining of the ADL playoffs, but we're probably not going to see Blush in the next couple of weeks. Probably not going to see Blush. I don't want to count anything out. So I feel like it's only fair that we give the sub the MVP for showing up, kicking some ass, and then leaving because he's an absolute boss like that. So I hope to see more of this guy in the future because this was a super fun 80 carry to present onto the screen and to talk about. So really well played by WJV, really well played by Blush. He's my MVP, though I would say Panda is definitely a second. I actually think the support, an 80 carry is only as good as a support. I think Panda played really well, particularly on those Nami games. So well played to everyone, even Flash Syndicates. Although they lost, they tried their heart out and they did what they strived to set out for, which was, try to upset the Giants. They did that so against Hyler Nightmares. They tried to do so again, but unfortunately they weren't able to. So well played by all 10 members and really hope to see these orgs again in the ADL.
You know what? You can take half the M, half the P, half the M, half the V, and most of the P as well goes to Blush. But gotta agree there. This is a team effort overall, and big shout outs once again to Flash Syndicate. They tried their hardest. At the moment, though, we are done with the Aegis Defenders League matchup here tonight. The quarterfinals are completed across the board, but there's more action throughout the rest of the scenes. More action and more quarterfinals across all the leagues of the Aegis division. So make sure to keep tuned into the socials for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday action. And of course, shout out to our producer Caddy for being so amazing, bringing us the glorious action across 4 games. Shout out, of course, to Jack, who stepped up in game number 1. Shout out to all you viewers for bringing in here. And of course, to our amazing sponsor, Zen Market. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you all next time.
日本限定あ全マーケットを使おっと
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
Zen Market.
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。